Well, folks, good day to you one and all, and welcome to round number 4 for your entertainment tonight, coming to you from the Second Gears live studio. Joining me, Mike side, my name is Gary Fleming, and joining me, Mike side, the voice of West Bromwich Motorsport, Frankie Yennis. Frankie, good evening to you.
Good evening, Gary, and everybody else at home. Yes, it's the Canvas Intelligence MSA series, and we bring to you the Porsche Cup from Road America, with the temperature outside 21 degrees, partly cloudy, 14 kilometer an hour wind, 67% chance of rain, but that's highly unlikely. The track is 6.4 kilometers long. Track temperature is 36 degrees Celsius, and we are 325 meters above sea level from Elkhart Lake in the USA. So we will kick off the proceedings with the Porsche Cup.
Well, yep, the Porsche Cup going to be round number 4 that we're going to be on this evening. And, well, I tell you what, I think it's going to be brilliant stuff. There's no doubt about it. The man you're looking out on track there, Jaco Steyn, the man that does all the homework in the background, alongside the likes of Dr. Mike Verrier, Sandra Bakari, also involved there in the background, as well as the likes of Luke Lucchesi as well. So Jaco Steyn, one of the first to get out on circuit. It's a 10-minute qualifying session. And for those of you that don't normally watch, they all go out on circuit. Each driver can only see himself out on circuit when he qualifies. He goes around, he's got a warm-up lap, and just like in normal racing, get some tire temperature in there, get some heat into the brakes as well, get the eye in, and once you've completed that first lap, the clock starts ticking, and when you come around to complete your second lap, at that point you will see the fastest lap times coming up on the left-hand side board where it shows qualifying. 1 minute 31 into there. So that is Jaco Steyn. Well, let's see, what have we got to look forward to this evening? Well, there's the likes of Janeman Prius. Nice, as we've got a photo of him in there as well. Ati Nagel also joining us tonight. Remember, these are all Porsches that they are in one size, same size. Peter van Zyl, that's a pretty popular type of coloring that you see on that Porsche. There'll be a couple that have got fairly similar decals on them in that format that you see there, with the RSC on the side, just with different extra additional color coding like that blue color. Frankie, somebody we're going to see a lot of tonight, probably if all goes well, one of the front runners, Scott Montanari.
Yeah, Scott Montanari is the man that's doing very, very well in this championship after 3 rounds. And during the practice session earlier on, he was the quickest driver out there. He was doing 2:08 in the practice early on. So we would expect him to probably stick that Porsche in pole position. But yeah, anything can happen out there. Leonardo Bakari out there in that 13 car. And he'll also be in at 17 cars were out in the practice session early on. So let's have a look and see what everyone does. But definitely Scott Montanari goes into round number 4 as the favorite.
There you see Colin Plitt also with that same style of livery, just with the white, shall we say, inlay on that. Carl McCarthy, now he's been coming up very, very well with the Sujin Properties car. He's been coming along very strongly with his racing recently.
Yeah, Carl McCarthy, one of the famous McCarthy Racing family members in the Sujin Porsche out there. He's connected to so many of the McCarthy, Stephen McCarthy, Sean McCarthy, Michael McCarthy, Patrick McCarthy, all of them. Uncle Cyril Ginsburg, lovely to see.
I didn't want to tell you before the time. I thought I'd just give you a bit of a surprise. Lovely to see Uncle Cyril out there again.
Man, the elder statesman, Uncle Cyril. Welcome back, Uncle Cyril. It's been a long, long time.
Oh yeah, Andre Steenkamp, he often has the Batmobile colors, that black, that's his favorite color, and no sign writing on it for tonight at all. Wayne Camage, he's had a couple of goodies recently as well, and also some nice livery on that Porsche of his.
Yeah, with the Mercury sponsorship on the side of that Porsche of his. Wayne Camage out there in the 222 car. There's Stephen Duplessis. Now, he in the practice session early on was also in that top 3. I think he was second fastest in the pre-qualifying practice session earlier. So keep an eye there on Stephen du Plessis. Yasamai is also doing pretty well out there in the championship. Is out there in car number 7, Gary, as the qualifying times start popping up on the leaderboard.
Yep, there you'll see. That's how they're going to start coming up on that leaderboard. You can't miss them whatsoever. Let's just have a look at some of the guys a little bit further down. Before we go to that, to Elroy Oliver, also Dalen Weiss that's out there as well. And then I see also Gerald Maget is also out there as well. And that is pretty much the full extent of the field. So the man that we spoke about earlier on, Scott Montanari, well, there was a time that he was leading the championship. And I think he is, in fact, still leading the championship, if my facts is correct. And he's got Atinachel in there behind him, not far off in terms of times whatsoever.
Yeah, Montanari done a 2:08.389. That is his quickest time, and that's more or less the times that he was doing out there in the practice session just before the official qualifying. So, Stephen du Plessis, that's the man that I want to see. Where's he going to pop up on the leaderboard? He's not in that top 13 at this point in time on the leaderboard. Atinachel is currently there in second with a 2:08.449, and then Pieter van Zyl on a 2:08.732, and then Gerald Fourie on a 2:08.962. And those of you that don't know, Gerald Fourie is the dad of the reigning 2021 Comcare Polar Cup champion, Leighton Fourie.
So there's Stephen Fourie out on circuit. He came out late, so he must still be on his first lap out. That's why we haven't seen him pop a time up there. Gerald Fourie's right in there. Pieter van Zyl. Wow, Pieter van Zyl finds himself on the second row of the grid right now. And Pieter van Zyl on a 2:08.73, a 2:08.45. Just ahead of him on the front row is Atinachel. And then Scott Montanari on a 2:08.39. And Jaco Steyn comes to play as well, and he rounds out the second row of the grid provisionally, also in the 2:08.82. So that finds him just 900ths of a second off that of Pieter van Zyl. Gerald Fourie gets knocked down to the third row of the grid as Janneman Preus decides to come up onto the second row of the grid and knocks Jaco Steyn off that coveted front four.
Well, the times are coming through thick and fast now. 14 drivers have put up a time, with a 2:08.389 being the quickest so far, and a 2:10.456 of Carl McCarthy in P14 being the slowest at this point in time. But still, we wait for Pieter du Plessis to come through. He was second quickest in the pre-qualifying practice session that they had earlier on. Now, let's see, can he be in that top 3 for the official qualifying stint that will take us into the race? We'll have a look and see as du Plessis makes his way around. Currently, Nachel and Van Zyl are second and third, but Nachel is now in pit lane.
Well, for Gerald Fourie to get himself into that 7th overall, he had one purple sector. Stephen du Plessis got a purple first sector time, so he started off his run very, very well from there. Let's see what he does as he comes up the front main, and where does he pop up onto the leaderboard? Has he had a clean lap? Oh,
third position.
As you said, does he make it to the front row of the grid? Well, he put so much in, he just went straight at the end. So that's Stephen du Plessis that has done what he needed to do and get himself right up there where it counts. That means Stephen du Plessis, and then Pieter van Zyl is the other man that rounds out the second row of the grid. Janneman Preus, that knocked Jaco Steyn off the second row, finds himself now also on the third row of the grid, and that alongside Jaco Steyn as well. So once everybody has done their allotted 2 laps, locking up that right in front pretty heavily, you can do that pretty easily with these Porsches. Janneman Preus coming through to see if he can get himself just slightly higher up the grid. See as he comes up the hill towards the line, does he manage to better that time? Yes, he does. No, he doesn't. No. He stays in that 6th. It's Gerald Fourie that went a little bit quicker. And Janneman Preus, though he obviously had a slight mistake on that lap, it was not his quickest one to date. So 9 minutes 24 of the allotted period of time. A lot of the guys have already gone into the pit lane, and you're going to find that there's going to be very few cars out on circuit for this last little piece that we have now still.
Well, there's just under 20 seconds left. As a matter of fact, there's 15 seconds left of qualifying. Gerald Fourie just moved up into that third position. Pieter van Zyl has gone back up there into fifth position. Jan Preus has dropped down into P6. Jaco Steyn is there in seventh. Andre Steenkamp in eighth. Yasamai in ninth. And Colin Plitt rounds off the top 10. So that will be exactly the way they're going to start, with Montanari and Nagel locking out the front row of the grid. Then Fourie and Duplessis locking out that second row of the grid, Gary. And then Van Zyl and Preus locking out row 3.
Yep, that from Jaco Steyn and Andre Steenkamp. And rounding out the top 10, Yasamai in that beautiful color car of his with Colin Plitt.
Then it is Dylan Weiss and Robbie Teings, followed there by Wayne Camage and Mark Devereaux, Carl McCarthy, Leonardo McCarthy, and the last row is Elroy Oliver and Cyril Ginsberg.
All right, there we go. So that pretty much the only one that's missing there was that man. That's Gerald Maget, and we've got him on the tail end there of the grid as well. So it's going to be all systems go, and there's a nice camera shot that we have added into this circuit. It's called the starter cam, and that is what they're going to be seeing, what we're going to be seeing when they come over the rise on the front main down towards turn number 1.
So Montanari, Nagel, Fourie, and Duplessis. Well, it's going to be action-packed between them. There you see that 46 of the Batmobile, that is Steenkamp. Just behind him is the 75, that is a Colin Plitt. The 64 you just picked up in shot there is Carl McCarthy. A couple of guys still busy jumping into their grid positions. But that 71 car in pole position, the MXU team oval office of Scott Montanari, he is certainly going to be the man to beat. So we go, 4 lights, 5 lights, pause, green flag goes down as well, and away we go, and chaos and drama right at the start as 2 cars got sent packing there into the wall right at the beginning. That's not what they wanted, but it's Montanari that has dropped down into that second position. That's Ati Nagel is the man that is leading at this point in time. Montanari sitting there in second. Not a good start off the line there by Scott Montanari. He's got Stephen Duplessis right on his case, followed there by Pieter van Zyl. I'll tell you this for nothing, that Gerald Fourie was one of the drivers who got involved in that mess right in the beginning, because Fourie is down in P17 and in pit lane. So not a great start off the line there, Gary, by Gerald Fourie. He was one of those drivers that was involved in that start line mess up.
Yep, and he unfortunately jumped back to pit, so that means there was massive damage on his car, and Yasamai was involved with that one as well. So Scott Montanari in that second position, Stephen Duplessis, the man that you picked to be in the top half dozen. Well, right there he is in that third place. Then it's Pieter van Zyl in there. Behind Pieter van Zyl is the man himself. It's Jaco Steyn. Behind that, the black one, that is Andre Steenkamp as they work their way around the circuit. Well, there's going to be some different camera shots that we're going to be able to give to you today. Let's go back to the front end of the field. And although there are certain areas where we do have trees like that, that's going to block our view, there is certain areas of the circuit that has got some beautiful blimp shots that we will be able to pick up as we see them working their way now into the right-hander. It's Ati Nagel ahead of one of the popular front runners out there, Scott Montanari. And look at Stephen Duplessis. He's applying the pressure pretty quickly, is Stephen Duplessis, as they work their way through lap number 2.
Yeah, Pieter van Zyl sits out there in that fourth position. Have a look at that first 9. There is nothing in the interval slot that you just saw there briefly between that first 9 cars. There is really, I'll tell you this for nothing, anyone can pull it off at this point in time. So have a look now there. Ati Nagel was the quickest man out there in the opening lap, 2:16.342. But yeah, that's going to go to about 2:08 at least, if not quicker. Duplessis is still out there in that third position. There you see Stephen Duplessis. Right ahead of him is Scott Montanari. And Montanari is 2/10 of a second behind Atinagel. Montanari wants that lead back. There might be a challenge somewhere. Nagel is going to have to go into defensive mode. Look at those 9-10 cars, all racked and stacked in there behind each other. And Montanari is going to have a go. Montanari is side by side, and he makes the move stick there on Atinagel. And Scott Montanari heads up into P1.
I don't think he was intending to stay that far back for that long, but definitely Nagel putting the pressure on that front four very, very close to one another as they come through there. Let's have a look just a little bit further back. There's Andre Steenkamp, Robbie Teens is in there behind him. There's Colin Plitt as well. Carl McCarthy, Mark Devereaux, Jaco Steyn having recovered back to that 10th position.
Yeah, these guys all fighting it out there for P6. They're in there behind Colin Plitt. That is Carl McCarthy, Mark Devereaux, and Jaco Steyn. They're all having a go at Colin Plitt for his top 6. As a matter of fact, McCarthy is 6/10 of a second behind him. Then Jaco Steyn, the man that you had a look at there, was right on the case. As we go back to a replay shot of the issues on the start line, that was Gerald Fourie and Yaz Samai that just got themselves, or was it Janneman Prius? Either way, Gerald Fourie was one of them, the 99, and the other one was the number 1 car that was involved in that issue there on the start-finish line.
Yasamai did then stop halfway up the straight, and he went back to the pits. Dalen Weiss also had a little bit of an issue. He was sitting inside the pack and used the runoff road, but then got himself onto the sand and battled to get back onto the circuit. Andre Steenkamp has also since then had an off. We don't want to miss too much of the action that's happening right now. And remember, we said Jaco Steyn recovering back on that 10th position. Let's see what happened to Jaco Steyn.
He's going into that corner too hot and exceeding track limits and into the kitty litter and getting back on the track, but losing tons of positions in the process.
Leonardo Bakari also getting a little bit late on the brakes and running it pretty wide and running it deep into the kitty litter. So that would have cost him pretty badly. Unfortunately for Gerald Fourie, trying to recover from that situation that he found himself in, he overcooked it as well and just bounced on the curbstone. You could see it actually bouncing on the curbstone, and that was where the problem came for him. Let's go back to the front end of the field, and that man that was so impressive, Scott Montanari, is leading them out.
Yeah, and he is 8/10 of a second ahead there of Atinagel in that second position. The quickest man out there, believe it or not, is Andre Steenkamp with a 2:08.819 in the Batmobile, and Andre sits out there in P5, but Nagel is the man that you see there on your screen in second position, and he's a second ahead there of Stephen Duplessis, who's battling to keep Peter van Zyl behind him, because van Zyl is only 3/10 of a second in there behind Duplessis. And that's that fight that's going on there behind Atinagel. There, the two of them come into view now. That is that fight there for third position between Duplessis and Van Zyl, with the Duplessis just ahead of him there as they make their way around. But there's battles all over the place. There's one for P6 as well between Colin Plitt and Carl McCarthy. And McCarthy's only 8/10 of a second behind Plitt. We'll go to that one now. Let's have a look and see what Van Zyl can do. He's 4/10 of a second behind the man you see ahead of him there, namely Stephen Duplessis. And Montanari with a 2:08.616 is the quickest man out there with 4 laps done.
Well, there you see how they spread out and making a bit of contact there as they come into turn number 1. But I think what we actually need to do is to go back to that battle up front. Atinagel has not given up whatsoever on the tail end of Scott Montanari. Let's go on board and see exactly how hard is he driving that motor car.
Yeah, Atinagel, we hop on board there with the in-car cam of Atinagel. He's got missile lock there on Montanari, 8/10 of a second behind Scott Montanari is Atinagel. Nagel must just take it easy because Scott is definitely the man that is the firm favorite for the win and even the championship so far. But only 3 of the rounds has been concluded. This is round number 4. Under the Speedville Bridge they go into what they call the carousel. It just keeps on going round and around and around on you, that carousel. And then they go down Kettle Bottoms, working their way down Kettle Bottoms now. And he is right there with him. As a matter of fact, he's losing a little bit of ground. He was 0.8 of a second behind Montanari. He's nearly a second behind Montanari right now.
That's a lot of long, hard, flat foot stuff that they're running through there now. 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd. Nice and smooth. Carry as much as you can. A fair amount of surface on the outside that's been added on that specific corner. And there's not a curbstone there, so everybody making very much use of that. This is the battle for 1st and 2nd as they go back out into the front main.
Yeah, out of the final corner they go up the hill there. There is pit lane on the right-hand side. And Nagel is 0.7 of a second behind Montanari. There's a fight going on there for 5th position as well. Between, no it's not, it was an ease for 6th position, I do apologize, between McCarthy and Plitt. We'll have a look at that one now, as Plitt is only 0.6 of a second behind Carl McCarthy. As we see these Porsches coming into view, there the 2 of them are right behind each other. That is Colin Plitt, and he is all over the back there of Carl McCarthy. So that fight is raging on there between Carl McCarthy and Colin Plitt for that 6th position.
Do you think they're slowing one another up a little bit at this stage of the fights, that there's a gap now starting to grow in front of them?
Well, it could be, because Robbie Teens is only 2.3 seconds behind the McCarthy-Plitt fight out there for P6. So we'll have a look and see if that gap between Plitt and Teens gets smaller. Then definitely they are holding each other up. Right now it was 2.2, 2.3, it's gone to 2 seconds. So Teens could be catching up to the McCarthy-Plitt combination.
Oh, no doubt about it. That's the splits that you've got between them. A little bit further back, Mark Devereaux closing up on the tail end there of Dalen Weiss.
Now that's a fight for the final position in the top 10. With the 10 minutes gone, Dalen Weiss sitting out there in a P10. Mark Devereaux in P11, 0.7 of a second behind Dalen Weiss at this point in time. So there's a fight going on for P10. There's one going on for P6. And then there's one out there for P1.
Mark Devereaux to within a 0.6 of a second. But look at the pace of these Porsches. They are so quick that even on 0.6 of a second, you battle to pick them up into the same camera shot. Nagel now dropping outside of a second for the first time in a long time off the back of Scott Montanari. Is this where he pulls the pin up, dusts and disappears as we go back to that fight with Colin Plitt?
Yeah, that is that fight there for that 6th position. Plittle over the back end of McCarthy, coming out the final corner. As they race uphill, there's a couple of personal bests on your screen there by Van Zyl and by Duplessis, as we watch Colin Plitt all over the back end there of McCarthy, and they are certainly keeping each other up, Gary, because Robbie Teens, that was 2.2, 2.3 seconds behind them, is now only 1.6 seconds behind McCarthy and Plitt. So Robbie Teens is coming into play as well.
Yep, there you saw him coming in through in the background shot. There he is. That is a Robbie Teens that's coming into play. Keep an eye on the leaderboard on the left-hand top of your screen. Going back to within under 0.8 of a second. Nagel picking up the pace and getting closer and closer. Stephen Duplessis getting himself into a possible passing position on Peter Van Zyl to try and break into a podium position.
Yeah, it's only 0.9 of a second behind Van Zyl is a Duplessis. He'd love to get a top 3. Yeah, sure, he'll settle for a top 5, but he certainly wants a top 3. And right now, it's only 0.7 of a second behind Van Zyl. There is a Peter Van Zyl, just ahead there of Stephen Duplessis. As we have a look at that front right-hand suspension and wheel of that Duplessis Porsche as he hunts down the Porsche of Van Zyl just ahead of him. He's now 0.8 of a second behind Van Zyl.
Into Kettle Bottoms they go, and that's going to be a long, easy left-hander. They're going to come through to turn 12, which is Canada corner. That's the right-hander. It's a fairly tight one, but you see on the outside there, Frankie, that's what I spoke about. There's no curbstones there, and everybody using everything as they go through the Bill Mitchell bend up over the rise, and then they're going to be going over Hawk Tunnel, and then that right-hander will take them back out into the front main. And look at the rise and fall. Let's follow this car all the way through your starting position. Just a little bit further on the left-hand side, you'll actually see the podium. There it is. That was the start-finish line. And this is going now down towards turn number 1.
Yeah, turn number 1, which is a 90-degree right-hander. Into turn number 1 they go now. Then they start climbing, and then they drop slightly down into another right-hander, and then from there it is downhill into turn number 5. So Stephen du Plessis is now 0.6 of a second behind Peter van Zyl, and I must say this, that van Zyl is fighting him off very nicely indeed. They mustn't forget about Andre Steenkamp. He's only 2.8 seconds behind that lot. As we have a look at Robbie Teens and Colin Plitt, they're right on the case of McCarthy. Well, earlier on we said Teens was only 1.6 seconds behind Colin Plitt. He's now 0.6 of a second behind Colin Plitt. So it is now 3 of them fighting it out for that 6th position, and Plitt made a mistake. He went wide and he gave that position up there to Robbie Teens.
Yep, that unfortunately was an easy one for Robbie Teens on Colin Plitt. Let's have a look exactly how that one worked out. Yep, he just ran it a little bit wide and straight through. And that's what happens when you're running one-make motor cars and they are so close to one another. I see Mark Devereaux has had a off-track as well. Let's see what happened to Mark Devereaux. Oh, God, just too hard on the brakes. And that one spot where there is not a curbstone, where you can use everything and more, well, he used a little bit more, unfortunately, and it didn't work for him. Jaco Steyn, another error for Jaco Steyn. Just too hard coming out and onto the grass, but recovering the track very, very well did Jaco Steyn. But Jaco finds himself down in a 14th position. Robbie Teens now looking back from Robbie Teens. That's the distance that he's got on Colin Plitt. But Frankie, the guy that you spoke about earlier on, Stephen du Plessis, he's not given up on that front 3.
No, he hasn't, and I think he's in with a very real chance of getting his nose head up. Peter van Zyl is only 0.4 of a second behind van Zyl, but let's not throw van Zyl away. I don't know too much about Peter van Zyl, but what I'm seeing right now, he is certainly holding his own, and du Plessis is not getting it easy to pass van Zyl. So clearly van Zyl is one of those guys that you would obviously vote for to be in that top 5, top 3. So yeah, van Zyl is making life very difficult out there for du Plessis, and in turn they're getting away from Steenkamp, because Steenkamp at one point in time was 2.8 seconds behind them. He is now 3.6 seconds behind the van Zyl du Plessis combination.
Dalen Weiss, who's not normally right up there in the top 10, is making his first move to break into a top 10 position. He's got Mark Devereaux just in front of him, and just in front of that is Wayne Camage. Oh, look at that. Both of them locking up the brakes. You do it, I can do it. But let's go back to Colin Plitt. That battle is getting closer and closer. Colin Plitt on Robbie Teens, and then the young lad, Carl McCarthy.
Yeah, that's a lovely fight out there, and it's still raging on for that 6th position, being held there by McCarthy. Now McCarthy's 9.1 seconds behind Steenkamp, and that will get bigger and bigger as he defends that 6th position against Robbie Teens and Colin Plitt. There's the Teen Bolt Porsche of Robbie Teens, and right behind him is that the 75 Porsche of Colin Plitt. And Plitt's 0.9 of a second behind Teens, and Teens is just a second now behind Carl McCarthy.
Stephen du Plessis still on the back there of Peter van Zyl and pushing pretty hard. They are going through the last corner now, so we'll see pretty soon what their latest lap times in fact were. Scott Montanari still leading out, holding that just about a second or just there under gap. That's what he needs to try and do at 209.3. Look at that. Look at the times are getting quick. It's getting very quick up front, and Atinachel's on the move.
Yeah, Atinachel now under a second behind Scott Montanari. So Montanari has to get a move on because it's now 0.8 of a second between himself and Nachel. So Atinachel has pushed the supercharge button, so to speak, and he wants to have a go there at the Montanari, just as Duplessis, who's 0.6 of a second behind Van Zyl, wants to do exactly the same. So Peter Van Zyl, 3.2 seconds behind Atinachel and defending that third position there from Duplessis. However, Carl McCarthy has still got Teens and Colin Plitt. That's the three you see in your picture there, racked and stacked behind him, with Teens 0.3 of a second behind McCarthy and Plitt 0.6 of a second behind Teens.
I think they kind of pacing one another at this stage of the fight. That gap hasn't opened or closed. Keep an eye on the left-hand top of your screen. Atinachel 0.6 in there behind Scott Montanari. If at any point that drops to less than half a second, we're going to be forced to go back to that battle, but we want to give everybody else a bit of a viewing as well. Talking about that, Atinachel's almost there. He's closing on the back of Scott Montanari.
And while we keep an eye on Nachel, Gary, we've gone just over the halfway mark. 35 minutes. Do you perhaps know what is the fuel percentage or fuel kilograms that they have to put on? Will they have to pit stop, or will they be able to make the checkered flag?
I actually purposefully did not go and look and see. I used to put that information into the back of the pip and use that for commentary purposes, but I actually like to leave it completely open-ended and just take it as it comes, and then it also leads to lots of speculation, which we're either going to be right or wrong. I said if we go under 0.5 per second, we're going to do it. Here we go. It's Atinachel on the back of Scott Montanari. Scott's starting to feel the pressure now. Is he going to close that line off? No, I think he's far enough ahead. Surprisingly, all the cones are still there. I thought the cones would disappear. So no, I'm not sure what exactly their fuel strategies are. I'm going to hazard a guess that there is not going to be fuel stops, but that is exactly why I didn't go into the home before the time, to make it lots of exciting. Look what's happening in the background. Stephen Duplessis and Peter Van Zyl.
Well, Mark Devereaux is in pit lane, so we'll have to look and see what that was all about. And he pitted out of P11, so he is in pit lane with 20 minutes out of 35 done. So is that the routine pit stop, or is it a problem? It seems like he hit the tire wall. Yep, and that is the reason why Devereaux is in pit lane for running repairs.
Another man that's had a problem is Leonardo Beccari. And Leonardo has also had an off track. Everybody seems to be pushing it just a little bit harder.
Look at the front of that Porsche. That whole nose is rearranged.
Yeah, he's obviously had a bit of contact with somebody or something. And Mark Devereaux has now been passed by Jaco Steyn. So Jaco starting his fight back at this stage of the fight. Let's have a look at... Mark Devereaux. It's Jaco Steyn that passed Mark Devereaux. And that was with the pit stop, and that is exactly why he has gone through. Let's go back to the front end of the field.
Right, the dices are beginning to heat up here for P1 as Atinachel is only 0.4 of a second behind Montanari, and that man you see there, that's a second car in your frame. That is Duplessis, and he is 0.7 of a second behind the man just ahead of him, namely Peter Van Zyl. So the fight is on. The fight is really on, the fight for the lead, and the fight out there for third position between Van Zyl and Duplessis. Out the final corner they go. Pit lane on the right-hand side. There they start climbing up the hill under the NTT bridge. They race into turn number 1. And look at Nachel right up front there. Nachel is all over the back of Montanari. And it's a personal best there for Van Zyl. A 2:08.968 there by Peter Van Zyl in that third position, and he is still defending like you cannot believe it to keep Stephen Duplessis in there behind him.
Oh, it's so close at this stage of the fight. Nobody is giving a millimeter whatsoever. First, second, third, and fourth, all in the same camera shot there. There's third, there's fourth. Next one coming through there, that's going to be under Steenkamp. That's the black car, and that's what 7 seconds gap looks like. As we just let's stick with that camera shot. Carl McCarthy is the next one that's going to be coming through 12 seconds further back. And that's the battle that we've been following. Carl McCarthy, that has got that train of cars behind him. Robbie Teens and Colin Plitt.
What a fight out there between McCarthy, Teens, and Plitt. There is 0.8 of a second behind McCarthy is Robbie Teens. There is McCarthy. There is Teens in there behind him. Sujin is being chased there by Dean Bolt. That is McCarthy from Teens. Then behind them is the 75 of Colin Plitt. He's a second behind Robbie Teens. That's a lovely, lovely fight up there for that sixth position between Carl McCarthy, Robbie Teens, and that man you see in your screen there, namely Colin Plitt.
So hard on the gas, down fifth, fourth, third, feed it in nicely. Remember the words of our elderly statesman Cyril Ginsburg. He says when you're driving a Porsche, it always feels like the car's trying to kill you. There's just oodles of power, all the weight sitting at the back of the motor car. The motor sits in the back of that motor car as well. And it's got oodles and oodles of traction. Just a little bit too much on the gas, and you swap ends and you're heading backwards towards the scene of the accident. But some very, very high-speed sections where I must say these Porsches actually look pretty stable if you watch the hands of the drivers on the steering wheel. Robbie Teens closing on Carl McCarthy.
Right, that's through Canada Corner that they're going through now as they make their way through the Bull McDonald Bend and into that final corner. Out the last corner they come there and work their way up the hill. It is McCarthy, it is Teens, and it is Plitt. Those are three cars you see on your screen there, racing up the hill. Across the start-finish line they go and run down into the 90-degree right-hander. That is turn number 1. And Robbie Teens has done a PB there of a 2:10.246, and he's 0.2 of a second behind McCarthy.
Robbie Teens once through. He's closer and closer every single time. He's going to go for the braking maneuver. Nope, Carl McCarthy good on the brakes there. The Teen Bolt, beautiful color scheme, Porsche, I must say. He's got the pressure on Carl McCarthy, but we have seen Carl McCarthy absorb lots of pressure before. Don't forget about Atti Nagel and Scott Montanari at the front. Keep an eye on that left-hand top corner. If it gets to under half a second, we're going to have to go back to that one.
Well, I'll tell you what, the man with the best seat...
Oh, talk about pressure. Sorry, Frankie. There's now commentator's curse number 1 for the day.
Yeah, that's quite right. As the pressure was on McCarthy there, and he made a mistake, and he relinquishes that position to Robbie Teens. And I was going to say the man with the best seat in the house in this lot is Colin Plitt, because he's 5.6 seconds ahead there of Dalen Weiss. So he hasn't got anything to worry about, because Weiss is too far behind him. So he would watch this McCarthy Teens, which is now a Teens McCarthy fight, and any mistake by them, he will capitalize, as he has no pressure on him from Dalen Weiss.
You'll probably find he's thinking now, okay, Mr. Rock Solid Carl McCarthy, young man, I've seen you crack once. Maybe I... Ooh, as he thinks about trying to crack Carl McCarthy, he almost throws it away all by himself. And Colin Plitt on the back of Carl McCarthy. Can Robbie Teens get away? It almost looks like Robbie Teens can get slightly away at this stage of the fight, so I don't think he's going to have too much of a problem. But somebody that's had something happening right in front of him all day long is Stephen du Plessis. Stephen du Plessis in there behind Peter van Zyl, looking to get into that top 3, but just not being able to close that last little piece down. The situation you got between Atti Nagel and Scott Montanari, literally a double up on that, is what you got on Stephen du Plessis and Peter van Zyl.
Yeah, his best is a 2:08.912, and his last there was a 2:09.653 there from Stephen du Plessis, and he's 0.4 of a second behind Peter van Zyl. He is coming. Van Zyl will know that du Plessis is right on his case. Kicking up the dirt and the dust there was Van Zyl as he worked his way through that left-hander, trying to keep du Plessis at bay as the two of them still keep on going. But now Atti Nagel, well picked up there by Gary, who was commentator, producer and cameraman for this one, as FC Nivot was unable to join us this evening. Picks up there that Atti Nagel is now crowding the back end there of the Montanari Porsche, and he is 0.2 of a second in there. Behind Scott is Atti. surely Atti's going to have a go somewhere with 27 minutes done.
Well, I'm not going to say Scott Montanari can take the pressure, because I said that about Carl McCarthy and he made an error, and it was a Robbie Teens that went through, and Robbie Teens has taken 1.2 out of a Carl McCarthy at this stage of the fight. So let's stay away from that one, but let's go and have a look at Colin Plitt. Colin Plitt on the back of Carl McCarthy as well. Carl's coming up in the Sujin car on a regular basis because he's found himself in quite a high-speed train, and now the middle of the sandwich, and now Colin Plitt trying to do a Robbie Teens on Carl McCarthy.
Yeah, and Plitt is only 0.3 of a second in there behind McCarthy, but McCarthy on the other hand is closing up onto the back of Teens because he is under a second in there behind Robbie Teens. But Attinagel is all over the back end. They've got Cyril Ginsberg ahead of them. They're going to put a lap there on Cyril Ginsberg. There's Cyril going into the right-hander, and there is that fight for first and second right in there behind them. Cyril will just hold his line and let Montanari and Nagel through. He points and says, come through on my left-hand side, gentlemen, because there's no ways I can keep you at bay, as Andre Steenkamp, Colin Plitt and Dylan Weiss are all in pit lane.
Yep, it looks like the guys are starting to pile in, so very possible that pit stops is going to be the name of the game. You notice when Scott Montanari came up behind Cyril Ginsberg, he actually tried to use that slipstream of Cyril Ginsberg, so he's aware of the fact that the slipstream of his slipstream is being used by Attinagel to close up on him. And Stephen du Plessis still in a very, very competitive, just out of the top three in there behind Peter van Zyl. I'm starting to wonder if all the boys are going to be going into the pits.
Well, Montanari and Nagel are going to catch up onto the number one car of Janneman Prius. He would be the next. There's still some distance between the two of them and Janneman, but he will be the next man that they're going to put a lap on out there on track. At this point in time, 0.4 of a second between Nagel and Montanari, and on the other side, not too far behind them, du Plessis is 0.7 of a second behind Peter van Zyl as well. But they are in a safety zone because they got 23.9, nearly 24 seconds lead on Teens. That's there in fifth position.
Elroy Oliver finding himself now in a bit of a tight spot as well, as they're getting themselves into a four-car battle. That is Elroy Oliver in there behind Wayne Camage, and Scott Montanari is going into the pits. Scott Montanari is in. That means Attinagel is going to take over the lead of this race. Peter van Zyl, what does he do? He's gone in as well. Stephen du Plessis, he's gone in as well. Robbie Teens, what does Robbie Teens do? Well, he's a little bit further back, 24 seconds further back. In fact, does he follow suit, or does he try to carry the team bolt through?
We're going to have a look and see at that one. After we watch this round of pit stops, we're going to have a look at that fight out there for 10th position between Bakari, Weiss, Camage and Oliver. Carl McCarthy has gone into the pits as well, but Robbie Teens says, no, I've got enough juice, I can still keep on going.
Jaco Steyn, what's he going to do at this stage of the fight? Does he go into the pits or not? Nope. Jaco's done his mathematics. He says, I can go a little bit further. But, well, for once, let's give the man the praise. It's the first time that I've seen him up front. Man leading the race, Attinagel. Even though it means he's still got to do a pit stop, he is leading the race right now. And the comeback kid, Robbie Teens, although he is a half a minute further back in the Teen Bolt-sponsored car, he finds himself under a lot of pressure from Scott Montanari, who has now already been in and out of the pits.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, du Plessis is Robbie Teens going to go into the pit. Well, that's not the pit entrance there. I'm just looking to see, will he or will he not go into pits at the end of this lap? We're going to have a look and see, will he or won't he, because Montanari has made a pit stop and Montanari is out. Montanari is in third place, and that is Scott that you see right in there behind Robbie Teens. So Montanari would certainly be the favorite to get past Robbie Teens. Whether Teens makes a pit stop or not, either way, you would fancy that Robbie Teens would lose that second position to Scott Montanari. But will Teens hit pit lane? We'll have a look and see shortly.
Well, I think that Scott Montanari is not pushing it unnecessarily to get past Robbie Teens, because I think he is working on the basis of Robbie Teens is probably going to be going into the pits. Will he wait any longer? He dives out of the slipstream. He's going to be trying to go the long way around. I don't think he's going to take any chances from there. Robbie Ting's not going to make it easy for him. Up on the inside line he goes. Scott Montanari past Robbie Ting's, but keep in mind, Robbie Ting's and Atinagel in the first and the third positions. Neither of them have been into the pit lane yet.
Well, Montanari was saying, whether you make a pit stop or not, man, I need to get through. Will he dive in?
Yep.
Yes, he goes into pit lane now. Does Robbie Ting. So if Robbie Ting goes into the pits now, as you see, Gary, that means Nagel has not made a pit. That means he has gone through.
Well, is he going to make another lap? We see people run out of fuel before. Atinagel has obviously pushed it as far as he possibly can. He's leading this race. He's got 30 seconds on Scott Montanari, which is going to bring him out pretty much alongside door handle to door handle on Scott Montanari if he had to do a same length pit stop as they were within a second of one another. Stephen Du Plessis 10 seconds back in that third position from Scott Montanari. So it's going to be a 1-2 battle that's out there.
I'd love to see positions gained because Jaco Steyn is there in that fourth position. And he would have made up tons of places with Jaco Steyn to find himself in the top 5 in P4. And Andre Steenkamp is also on the back of Van Zyl. Now, Jaco Steyn's only gone up 3 positions from where he originally started. The man that's made the most moves there
Robbie
is
Tings.
Elroy Oliver. He's gone up 7 positions. And Robbie Tings, he's gone up 5 positions.
Yep. So the question now is, without having to stop Atinagel, how much further can he go?
Well, we've got 45 seconds left before checkered flag comes out. Atinagel cannot stop now. We're on lap number 16. He's not going to be able to stop. Well, he could because he's got 30 seconds a lead there on Scott Montanari.
But then he's got to make another lap.
Yeah.
No, he's going
to
in.
Go into the pits. He's going to go into the pits. As I said, he's got a 30-second gap between himself and Montanari.
Is it going to work?
Well, he wants to come in first and he wants to go out first.
Is the start-finish line before his pit stop? It's possible.
Yeah, but there's got 10 seconds. He's not, I don't think so. He's going to cruise. I don't know, because here comes Scott Montanari. Scott Montanari making his way through Atinagel. It says pit lane, as you can see. Atinagel is now 24 seconds ahead of Montanari, and here comes Scott Montanari. Montanari goes through. The checkered flag comes out, and Montanari has won it, and he's just beaten Atinagel to the checkered flag.
Let's have a look at this one. This is the next one coming through now. It's Stephen Du Plessis. Well, he's got a big piece of property there in front of him. The next one through is going to be, in fact, then probably Jaco Steyn.
Well, I see a guy waving a checkered flag there, but I don't see any checkered flags by the drivers' names. So, Gazza, does this mean that this is the final lap then?
Does it mean that they're going one more? It's possible.
It could be, because normally when the checkered flag comes out, you see the checkered flag behind their names, and I saw the checkered flag guy, the start-finish line man, wave the flag.
But they do wave the white flag as well, so maybe he didn't make the start-finish line in time.
Well, either way, I would presume that this is then the final lap, as they put a lap there on Cyril Ginsburg, does Scott Montanari. So, Scott Montanari, can he still get to the flag ahead of Atinagel? Because there can't be much between the two of them, with Stephen Du Plessis in that third position, and the man that's gone up 3 positions behind him in P4 is Jaco Steyn. It's only Colin Plitt that's all over the back end of Robbie Tings in that fight out there for that 7th position.
Oh, I seem to think that they maybe just didn't get across the start-finish line at the point that we thought. And, well, the waving flag, we're not accustomed to a waved white in this country. I see Colin Plitt's also in a pretty tight battle there. Let's go back to Scott Montanari. And with that waving flag, we would have just accepted that it's a checkered, but yeah, probably didn't get to the line in time. So Scott Montanari and Atinagel, oh, that's pushing it to the limit, is Atinagel, but he knows it's the last gasp effort, and this is probably the last straight.
Yeah, he's weaving from side to side, and Montanari has done it. The checkered flag comes out this time. So the flag you saw earlier on was the waved white flag, This time it's checkered, and Montanari beats Nagel to the line by 6/10 of a second for P1 and P2.
Stephen Duplessis, the man that you picked to be one of the top boys out there, he comes through. And Jaco Steyn, lovely. Well done, Jakes. Jakes gets himself through in 4th position, just ahead there of Peter van Zyl and Andre Steenkamp. And then the next one through behind that will be the man that's been involved in so many battles right through this one, Robbie Teens.
And right on his case, the second behind him in P8 is a 75 Porsche of Colin Plitt. There, Colin takes a checkered flag, 9/10 of a second behind Robbie Teens. Then Carl McCarthy, he'll be in that 9th position. And then Elroy Oliver will finish behind him in P10. And then Dylan Weiss will cross the line there in that 11th position.
Yeah, he finds himself 15 seconds further back, so there's a bit of a gap before we get him coming across the line. And then we've still got Mark Devereaux that's going to work his way through there now. He was up pretty high at one stage of the fight, I must say, as he comes up towards the line. Mark Devereaux, I think he's just dropped it into top gear and idles it across the line. And then Wayne Camage, the last man still out there on circuit. And Wayne will be disappointed with that one as him and Cyril find themselves quite far back on the field. That's not where Wayne Camage would have liked to have been whatsoever. So, sure, what a race that was. Look at that, positions up and down, starting on the front row of the grid. Scott Montanari and Ati Nagel, neither of them are changing places whatsoever. Stephen Duplessis, that was on the second row of the grid, but in 4th position, moves it up to 3rd. Jaco Steyn picking up 3 positions for his efforts in that one.
Well, so it is Montanari, Nagel, and Duplessis. That is your podium for round number 4 at Road America. And then just off the podium is Jaco Steyn and Peter van Zyl. That rounds off the top 5.
Wow, I think Peter van Zyl must be pretty chuffed with that one. Andre Steenkamp from Robbie Teens, Colin Plitt, Carl McCarthy, sorry Carl, the commentator's curse there, with Elroy Oliver rounding out the top 10.
Well, Elroy Oliver was the biggest mover. He moved up 7 positions and he makes a top 10. But yeah, brilliant stuff out there. To choose a driver of the day for this one would be difficult. Bad luck I would share with Yasamai and Gerald Fourie.
Yes.
And and because they had problems, or they were 2 of the 3 drivers that had problems out there on the opening lap. Janeman Prius was the other one, but he managed to finish in 12th position. So my bad luck there would be shared by, between Yasamai and Gerald Fourie. So, driver of the day, Gary, I would say Elroy Oliver, because he moved up 7 positions. He was the biggest mover, and he made a top 10.
Yeah, I think that's probably his highest position. I must say, an impressive run there by Stephen Duplessis. You would expect the likes of Scott Montanari and Ati Nagel to be up front. Jaco Steyn, I think 2, 3, 4 places up from where you would expect him. Andre Steenkamp, Frankie, once again getting himself into the top 6, 7, 8. And we saw that a year or so ago. And then Andre was out of that top 6 or 7, and he's definitely getting the Batmobile back on pace again.
Yeah, and then Teens, always in there, always consistent, is Robbie Teens, and then behind him, Colin Plitt, Carl McCarthy. And as I said, my driver of the day, Elroy Oliver, top 10, up 7 positions, and he was on the lead lap. As a matter of fact, the first 14 cars was on the lead lap.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back to you with the MSA GTE series.
Yes, a big thanks to Canvas Intelligence.
inside there. Now, oh, a little bit of a bump right there by Ferrari Zarducki. Now he's going to have the draft heading into Blanchimont. Here comes Jens Gusens. They're bumping and banging. Zarducki is going to get pushed out wide right before Blanchimont. They go side by side. Zarducki and Ferrari leaning on each other. Zarducki's got that inside line. Ferrari's got that middle line. Here comes Jens Gusens. Gusens, I think he's going to have to back off right now. Zarducki, early turn-in by Ferrari. He's going to go for that switchback move right now. Zarducki defending onto the inside. And Ferrari's got his nose down to the inside. But is it going to happen? It's going to be a drag race right there. It's going to be Ferrari by a nose. The final corner right there by Roberto Ferrari.
Diving down into the braking zone for the hairpin. Lacherici taking a little bit of a wider line, looking for a crossover. Little bit of sideways action there up in front from Phil Bouchard, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to open the door here for the number 21. He is certainly glozing in a little bit. It's down under 0.2 of a second right now. Does Lacherici... Here he comes. He's going to go for a move on the outside. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean. Lacherici has the momentum. Is he going to be able to take it to the line? He is indeed by 22 thousandths of a second. Lacherici takes the victory.
Unbelievable. And you were calling it as it happened. He squared up or diamonded the hairpin just a little bit. And then, as you mentioned, Bouchard had that little bobble on the exit. And with that diamonding of that last corner, he got the front wheel straightened out, got to the throttle just that bit sooner.
Your line here if you want to win this race. You gotta stay on the inside.
No, Rudy's got the run. He's gonna block it. So Rudy's switched to the inside. He can. He's got a wheel.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Oh my God. Side by side. He's gonna be Rudy's barely there.
Oh my God.
Drag race to the line. Who's it gonna be?
It's gonna be a drag race to the right.
It's gonna be Valentine.
Rudy's got it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. 1/100th of a second.
Oh my gosh.
And look who's going to get in the fight there. Drapkin trying to get his nose up the inside. Just can't get that extra edge. He's there, but he's not.
3 trucks are half a second apart on the final lap. go! Connor Berry with the slide job, but it looks like Edmondson is wise to it. He cuts back. It's not super effective, though. They're going to be side by side. The inside goes to Connor Berry. Can we see another slide job going the long way around? We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end? Connor Berry by half a tenth of a second. The top 3 were spread by 0.16 at the line.
Well, folks, we're back with you again, and well, what can I say? There was a lovely first round of racing that we did see there with the Porsche Cup that was there, round number 4. And now we move on to the people that out-qualified everybody that's in the Porsche Cup, the top echelon in South Africa, the Canvas Intelligence MSA Series for 2022. Come to you live from the Second Gear Studios, and as always, the voice of West Farmers Motorsport, Frankie Yinnis, following the series right from the beginning and sitting with me in the studio again this evening. Good evening to you, Frankie.
Yeah, a big thanks to the Canvas Intelligence, and thank you, Gary, for sponsoring this event, and then to ASAP New and Used Parts. ASAP is, of course, located in Pretoria West, and a big thank you to Canvas Intelligence, and a big thanks to MSA for the backing of the GTE series and the Porsche Cup as well, which you have just seen if you were watching that production before this one. So we're back there at the Road America again with a 19 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, 9 km/h wind, and we're at Elkhart Lake in the USA, Road America for round 4 of the GTE series, with the altitude 325 meters above sea level.
Well, I tell you what, this is one of the iconic circuits out there. There's no doubt about it. So how did people arrive in this series? There was an opportunity that was put out there to go for part-time qualifying sessions. There was, in fact, 4 different sessions. The top echelon were taken into this, the GTE, the main series. There were so many people. They said, hold on a second, we can't just lose all these other people. And hence the birth of the Porsche Cup, which you have just seen just before this now. The other very interesting series, as we've got 1 minute to go still with the practice session for the GTEs. You'll see in the left-hand top corner of your screen there, it shows 39 minutes and 17 seconds. When that gets to 40 minutes, they will have the 40 minutes practice done, and then they will be go into a 10-minute qualifying session. But frankly, this doesn't detract from the touring car series, which was also started up by Jaco Steyn as well, and that's pulling big sponsorship, just like Canvas Intelligence, for the second round of the touring car series as well.
Yeah, there's a big sponsor coming up for that one. That will be revealed in due time when season 2 starts for the touring car challenge, the TCC. So the 40 minutes practice session is now officially done, as they will now start their qualifying stint, and it's now where it starts getting serious.
So who do we expect to see near the front end of the field? Well, it's going to be very difficult. Obviously, the likes of Johan Fourie, Julian Familiaris, Jason Coetzee, Luc Lucchese, Leighton Fourie, these kind of names come to mind. Peter van der Spey, Byron Mitchell. There's just so many of them. So, I don't know. It is just so close. And that's what's been so nice in this series, is to be able to actually see how all these top drivers are so close to one another. But, well, I suppose none better to get started with than somebody in the likes of Umpi Swart, that's about to go out on a circuit and start off with his warm-up lap. So, Yuri Umpi Swart, the man himself, he'll be alongside the likes of Jan Spammers, John Device, Sandra Bakari, Keegan Campos is in there as well, Byron Mitchell, Mike Berrier, Leon van Wyk, Keegan Masters, Jared Werberski. Jared Werberski, the son of Garth Werberski, he has blitzed the series so far. But is this one going to go the same way for Werberski? I think a lot of practicing has gone down. I think he's not only set the benchmark, but I think he's lifted everybody's pace, and you can never ever forget about Mr. Luc Lucchese.
Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of those names that Gary was mentioning there now raced last weekend at the Extreme Festival at Swartkops Raceway just outside of Pretoria. And a lot of these drivers come in fresh from that event. A lot of them taking part in the Formula 1600s, a lot of them taking part in the Polar Cup, and then in the GTC and in the Super Cup Championship as well. And quite a few of those drivers are in this GTE/MSA backed series, sponsored by Canvas Intelligence and ASAP Motorspares, and brought to you by Second Gear Productions. So yeah, it's going to be interesting and entertaining stuff nonetheless to say when they make their way around. At this point in time, I've seen BMWs out on circuit. I've seen that Ferrari out on track. So there's going to be quite a few different makes of GTE cars out there on the circuit today.
I think it's basically Ferrari, Porsche, and BMW, as we see Leighton Fourie on his way around the circuit as well in the 46 car. This is in fact the very same circuit that the Porsche Cup guys were on, and we saw what kind of lap times they were putting down. So we're going to have to wait a bit until we get some of the guys finishing their second lap, one being coming out of the pits and doing the warm-up, and then the second one being their first flying lap. Everybody gets 2 of those. And, well, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of this, man. Mr. Luc Lucchese starting his fast lap.
Yeah, that's the Luc Lucchese Porsche that you see barreling down the, or should I say barreling up the main straight into turn number 1. with 3 minutes and 15 seconds of the qualifying session done. So pretty soon we should start to see the lap times coming through.
Well, it's going to be interesting. It's nice to see that Dr. Mike Berrier is out there with the 8-ball 24/7 car. Leon van Wyk, Keegan Masters as well, one of the main circuit aces that's working his way through the last corner and going to be going onto his flying lap now as well. Brad Liebenberg, what a history of racing for this man.
Yeah, Bradley Liebenberg has basically done it all from Polo Cup to GTC, and I think he's in Super Cup. I'm not too sure, but yeah, he is a name that is well known in South African national main circuit motor racing. So yeah, keep an eye on him. There's so many names that you've got to watch out for in this one. It's going to be as close as it gets, as Graham Stephen is the first man to post the time there of a 2:01.240, and he gets pipped there by Julian Familiaris that does under 2 minutes, a 1:59.9.
Who gets pipped by?
Mitchell does a 1:59.6.
Oh, it's all on Johan Foury's first fast lap, just 19 thousandths outside of that golden marker of the 2 minute lap. How quick this is. Remember Luke King, that is a name that we didn't know going into this series, and Luke at this point finds himself on the second row of the grid. But it's only Byron Mitchell and Julian Familiaris that have broken that magical 2 minute mark so far.
Yeah, well, Luke is there in fourth position. That's Luke King with a 2 minute 1:54, and a 2 minute dead just ahead of him there is Johan Foury. So the guys are beginning to put up some seriously quick times out there, with Mitchell still the fastest man out there on a 1:59.638. And the only other man to do a sub 2 minutes is Julian Familiaris with a 1:59.985.
Some big names further down, the likes there of Chase Herald, normally blindingly quick young lad that has done very well for himself on the main circuit. Graham Stephen down in 14th position, finds himself behind Leon van Wyk and Jan Spammers, and then Josh Kutzer is just outside of the top 10 as well. And remember, the man that came all of a sudden to light in the iRacing was with one of the 6 hours, this man, Zach Forster. And he finds, well, I was just going to say top 10, and Mr. Luke Lucchesi drops into 6th position.
Luke goes up into P2, 1:59.947, Keegan Masters, and he so far has outqualified Familiaris, but that's provisional second for Keegan. At this point in time, it's not done and dusted yet, but this is the highest I've seen Keegan Masters qualify in this GTE series. Well, there's Byron Mitchell. There's Keegan Masters coming through. Keegan out there with the Porsche, and he is 1:59.947. And where is Familiaris? That's Matt Shorter. You see him making his way around there. He's at a 2 minute dead. Has Shorter together with Johan Foury. So, as a matter of fact, Luke King has also done a 2 minute dead, 2 minute 1:5 if you want to get technical. And Jason Kutsia as well as Leighton Foury, Jared Babirski, Zach Poster, Yuri Swart, oh my word, they're all in the 2 minute mark. Jacques Botha, all the way down to Rudy Marais.
Well, as you can see, everybody that's shown their pit lane, that's the people that have finished their lap times. Matt Shorter, Willem Botha and Leon van Wyk, pretty much the last three that's still out there on circuit at the moment. Once you've done your 2 laps, the computer says you go and take a break, have a smoke, enjoy yourself, have a nice day, come back in a couple of seconds and you can come and race. A name we haven't even mentioned, Johan Engelbrecht, in there as well, and he finds himself down in 22nd.
Yeah, 2:01.346 for the man out there in the BMW. That is Engelbrecht in the 99 Beamer. And there we see Keegan Campos out there in the Ping Pig, and Keegan down in 23rd position with the 2:01.541.
Peter van der Spey a little bit further back, and it looks like he's just stopped now as well. Raymond Duggins in there as well. Sawood Variawa, wow, he was out with the National Extreme Festival Series on Saturday, and Brad Liebenberg still out there on circuit as well. And Brad is nowhere where he wants to be whatsoever. He hasn't even got a time up yet. And there's only a minute and 3/4 left. And he hasn't managed to actually put a time up. So Renier Hubert, Brad Limburg, Saud Variawa, Swayze Hubert, John T. Weiss, and Corne Briet, none of them having had clean laps and been able to actually put themselves up on that leaderboard.
Well, you're talking about Saud Variawa as a young man. He's a teenager. He's Saud Variawa, and he's part of the Toyota Gazoo racing team. And he didn't do half bad last weekend in the Polar Cup Championship, did Saud Variawa. So I'm waiting for him to put a time up because he is not slow, that's for sure. This young man can pedal around any racetrack. Well, we've got 55 seconds left in the qualifying.
Look at
so
that.
I think pretty much where you see them now is where they are going to start off.
Brad Limburg pops up into 12th position. Keegan Campos in the pink pig. Here he comes up. Where is he? Surely he's going to climb the ladder a little. 24th. Nope. It's going to stay right there in that 25th position. Raymond Duggan is just about the only man still out there on circuit, but I don't think he's going to be able to finish his second qualifying lap. There's only 22 seconds to go, and then, as we said, the computer says, good night, nurse, go and have a break, have a smoke, and come back when it's all on. Saud Variawa is still out on circuit. Is he going to be able to finish another lap? I doubt it. There's only 7 seconds to go.
Gary, there's 9/10 of a second between P3 all the way to P22.
It just doesn't get any closer.
How is that for something else?
Oh, well, it just doesn't get any better than that. Let's have a look at the grid.
Mitchell and Masters, Familiaris and Fourie, Shorter and Lucchesi. That is the first 3 rows of the grid.
Yep, I think that's where you need to be to stay out of the trouble. Luke King from Jason Pitsier, the Ironman, in 8th position, just ahead of the ex-Polo SA champ Leighton Fourie. Jared Waberski, man, that's high up in the points, leading the series. He missed the last race, and he finds himself in 10th position on the grid.
Yeah, then it's Zach Foster and Bradley Liebenberg, Yuri Swart and Jacques Botha. Row 8, Jan Spalmers and Willem Botha. Row 9, Francois Hubert and Josh Koetser. And row 10, Saud Variawa and Pieter Hubert.
Yep, and then behind that, Leon van Wyk, Rudy Marais, Graham Stephen, Johan Engelbrecht down in 24th position. Can you believe it? Keegan Campos, Chase Herald, Sandro Bakari, Peter van der Spey, Mike Verrier, Raymond Duggan. It just carries on and on. But we're going to have to go to that front end of the grid, and let's see if everybody is going to make it onto the grid.
Yeah, Briet Hubert, Rainier Hubert, and John T. Weiss. They are the 34 cars that will take part in this one. A big thanks to Canvas Intelligence and to ASAP New and Used Motor Spares.
Sure, where do you start with something like this? This is going to be something else. To look at that, they line up the best of the best in South Africa. A big thanks to Canvas Intelligence for making this all possible for us. And well, Frankie, I think I'm going to concentrate on a couple of nice camera shots if you can take us through the first 2 laps of this race.
Right, here we go. As they roll out of pit lane. Woo, it's going to be awesome stuff. We'll have a look and see. As a matter of fact, are they right now? They are on the track already. That is pit lane you see on the right-hand side.
Yo.
So there they go. BMWs, Porsches, and Ferraris, from what I could make out in the qualifying session. It just continues over the crest there. There you see the last 2 cars come into view, and that will be Briet and Hubert. As a matter of fact, it won't be, because there's 34 of them out there on track. You only just saw the first 32 there, as the safety car, the Porsche safety car, leads them around, well, around Road America in Lake Elkhart in the USA. 6.4 kilometers long, 1 lap, and just over 300 meters above sea level. Here we go. Here we go. Brought to you by Canvas Intelligence, brought to you by ASAP, New and Used Motor Parts, backed by Motorsport, and been commentated production-wise and camera-wise by Second Gear Productions. Here we go.
What an amazing view this is. I've never seen something like this in my life before. And when you find the likes of Umpi Swart starting down in 14th position, Graham Stephen down in 24th position, Keegan Campos, Peter van der Spey down in 27th position. It's just crazy. It's utterly crazy.
Francois Hubert down in 18th. Zahoud Variawa in 20th position. Oh, Keegan Campos and Chase Herald 25 and 26. My word, it just shows you. But there was 9/10 of a second from P3 all the way down to P21. I saw earlier on in the qualifying session. So you don't really want to find yourself in that mid-pack. My advice to these drivers are, you cannot win it in the first lap, but you can lose it in the first lap. So guys, you need to take it easy. Not that they can hear a damn word that I'm saying, but yeah, that would be my advice to them.
I think this is going to be something else. I think what we're going to do is let's try and run at least 2 to 3 laps and till they get pretty much line astern, and then we'll try and see if we can pick up as many of the incidents for you as possible, because with a field that's this competitive and this size, there's definitely going to be incidents as they work their way down that fairly long straight. It's got a bit of a curve in it as the Kettle Bottom straight, but this is the last time that you've got just a little bit of time to think and breathe. Byron Mitchell, Keegan Masters, front row of the grid, Junior Familiaris and Johan Fourie, second row, third row, Matt Shorter and Luke Lucchese, fourth row, Luke King and Jason Kutsia, fifth row, Leighton Fourie and Jared Werberski. And that is your top 10 for now. It's not going to necessarily be the top 10 in 1.5 minutes from now.
Right, it's going to get entertaining through the Bill Mitchell bend they go. And they will be making their way now towards the final corner. You see those 5 lights on top of your screen. They're all off at this point in time. We are about to go racing soon here at Road America. There is the final corner. There is the pit lane. There the safety car pulls off. The man with the green flag is waiting for them as they exit the final corner. Come up the rise. And we are good to go. Green and racing at Road America in Lake Elkhart for the GTE Series. Brought to you by ASAP Motor Spares and Canvas Intelligence. And away we go. 1.5 hours of absolute chaos and pandemonium. And it's the Ferrari of Byron Mitchell that leads him around with Keegan Masters, Johan Fourie and Julian Familiaris. Matt Shorter rounding off that top 5. And already problems out there. That's Fourie. That is for Johan Fourie. And I think he got that all wrong by himself. I didn't see if anybody tagged the back end of him. I think he might have just made a slight mistake. And that's going to drop him all the way down to that 15th position. And that is not what Fourie needed at this point in time. He is in terrible, terrible trouble out there. But no, Paul, there's another car getting it all wrong. There's a lot of cars losing the circuit coming out of that left-hander.
That was Brad Lindbergh. It's dropped right down towards the tail end of the field with Corne Breed, Brad Lindbergh and Swayze Hubert right down towards the bottom. But so be it. It's one of those things. Not everybody can be at the front. It's Byron Mitchell. In there behind him is Keegan Campos. Then it's Julian Familiaris. There's Matt Shorter that's in there behind Julian Familiaris. And I think Matt Shorter is going to be very much on the pace today. It's one of the best outings I've seen from him in terms of a practice and a qualifying session. Luke Lucchese rounds out the top 5.
Right down Kettle Bottom straight they go now into that little left-handed kink before they go into Canada corner. And this is all she's got when they go down through the kink Kettle Bottoms towards Canada corner. There they're making their way through Canada corner now, and it's Jason Kutsia that was involved in a situation there. He seemed to have survived it, did Jason Kutsia, but the other guy ahead of him didn't. As we'll have a look and see what that was when we see the replays a bit later on. We're only on lap number 1. That has been done. We start lap number 2. That's Mitchell from Masters, from Familiaris, from Lucchese, and 204.059. Byron Mitchell is the fastest man out there.
No doubt about it. A little bit further back, Jan Spammers, Sawood, Variawa, they're all moving around in the pack at this stage of the fight. It hasn't opened up enough yet. I'd love to show you some of those replays. There's some beautiful replays, but we'll get to that just now. Byron Mitchell leads them out. Keegan Masters, can he hold the pace in front of the uber-quick Julian Familiaris?
Well, I'm waiting for those intervals to come up because I don't think there's much between these guys. Familiaris is there, 0.5 of a second between himself and Masters. That is just there ahead of him. I'll tell you what, it is absolutely insane stuff there. It is a Ferrari that leads from a Porsche in second, from a BMW that is there in third position. Then there's 3 Porsches racked and stacked there. That is Lucchese, Shorter, and Fourie. That's the 3 of them you see. Then Jason Kutsia is 1.1 seconds behind Zach Foster. So I'll tell you what, it's going to be war out there between the best of the best that you see in the RSA, real-time racing drivers and iRacing drivers going one-on-one here for all the marbles in round 4 of the GTE series.
Video bay just ahead of Rudy Murray, Keegan Campos in the Campos colors in there directly behind that. And well, I tell you what, there's virtually nobody that's outside of a second from the person in front of them. It seems almost impossible, but that's what it is. It's Keegan Masters that's holding onto the back end there of Byron Mitchell, but Julian Familiaris is just as close as that behind him.
Yeah, it's only there Jacques Buerta that's 2.2 seconds behind Leighton Fourie. Otherwise, everybody is a second or less in that the top 25. As Keegan Masters is 0.8 of a second behind Byron Mitchell. There's Masters, and there's Familiaris. Then it's Lucchese. Behind Lucchese, it is Matt Shorter and Leighton Fourie. That's those 3 Porsches you see there. Then they are being closed up there by Jacques Buerta in the BMW. There's Jacques Buerta in the BMW, 2.2 seconds behind Leighton Fourie, and he's got Jared Boberski in the DAW Ferrari. Right in there with him is Boberski, 0.6 of a second between Buerta and Boberski.
Zach Foster's got a little bit of space, but the guy that's behind him is Jason Kutsia. Jason Kutsia has got Umpi Swart that's having a look up on that inside line. Let's see if Umpi Swart could make that move stick. Yes, he did. He's just moved up one. Umpi Swart has moved up past Willem Buerta. And he started a long way down. I think he was, he must be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 positions up is Umpi Swart. So Umpi Swart onto the back end now of Kutsia. There's another one that's just gone off. I think that was Sawood Variawa that we just saw there that went off. Third position, Julian Familiaris.
I just saw a car that was sent packing there to the right, his right-hand side, your left-hand side of the screen. So we'll pick up who that car was. It was in trouble out there. But Familiaris, there he goes. He is 0.4 of a second behind Keegan Masters. That's now on defensive mode because Masters is a second behind Byron Mitchell. So Masters and Familiaris, that's the 2 cars you see in screen, and behind them is a lovely fight. Behind them is a lovely fight for P4. That's Luke Lucchese. He's got Matt Shorter and Leighton Fourie on his case. We'll have a look at those 3 Porsches soon. There they are. You just see them come into view behind these 3. And that's going to be one that we're going to have to keep an eye out on. There they go. It is Luke Lucchese and Matt Shorter, 0.3 of a second behind him, followed there by Leighton Fourie. That's the 3 Porsches you see one-on-one, and they are fighting it out there for 4, 5, and 6 between Lucchese, Shorter, and Leighton Fourie.
All right, we said we're going to go 3. We had to go 4 laps before we could get to any of the playbacks for you. Let's first of all have a look at Francois Hubert. And Francois Hubert, well, there was just nowhere for him to go. Yeah, there was just one of those things. And unfortunately, he had nowhere to go with that one. And that cost him pretty dearly to try and look how long it takes to get back on track. Then another one of the biggies was Johan Fourie. Now, remember, you said I think Johan Fourie lost it by himself, quote unquote. Yes, Frankie, you were 100% correct. He did lose it by himself. It was just too hard on the gas. Then Francois Hubert found himself off circuit, but pointing in the wrong direction. He had to turn himself around pretty quickly.
Sorry, guys, look at the damage in the front and the back end of that Francois Hubert Porsche. No bonnet well, call it the bonnet, because the engine don't sit there.
Yeah.
But let's call it the bonnet of that Porsche.
All sides up, it's not good for him. And then the next one I want to have a look at was Luke King, that found himself in a situation.
Yeah, Luke King was one of the top qualifiers in the BMW and just lost it coming out of that left-hander, tagged the tyre wall and had to wait quite some time before he could rejoin.
Oh, just look at the cars just piling past him until he eventually got going. Brad Liebberg ran into a problem in the pack as well.
Yeah, Bradley Liebenberg, he was tagged there by, I think it was Jacques Buerta, the 888 car. BMW just tagged Brad Liebenberg there.
Luke King had a second situation that was just a little bit further on. In fact,
And the same place.
At the exact same place. And then Swayze Hubert had, I think, could have been quite a big crash. It just goes in red on my screen and it says, crash.
Yeah, well, they were all, they thumped each other. There was about 3 of them that was involved in that situation.
Corne Brett also had himself a little a situation as well. There was just so many. Well, we said there's going to be lots of incidents, and that was just trying a little bit hard. Remember, Corne Brett dropped a long way back in the pack as such. Raymond Duggan also had a bit of an issue. And then Johan Ferry on his comeback trail also had a bit of an off, and he was just pushing it a little bit too hard and ran it a little bit wide, and that cost him pretty dearly. Another person that ran into a problem was Josh Kurzer. That had an incident earlier on. He just timed it a little bit too tight and ran it out onto the grass and managed to get that one back together again. Frankie Renier-Hubert, another man that found himself off circuit at one point.
Yeah, Renier-Hubert trying very hard with the Ferrari and some serious track limits there by Hubert. Lost a couple of positions and rejoins just before they go into the that right-hander called the carousel, and that was the issue for Saud Variawa in the Porsche.
Yep, that was the one that you actually picked up. And then Josh Kurzer had a second incident, also just going a little bit too wide, but holding on very, very well he did with that one. But soon after that, Josh Kurzer actually was involved in a slightly bigger incident than that. Let's have a look to see exactly what happened there.
Josh coming into that left-hander and just done a swapper there, going into that left-hander in the WeatherTech Ferrari.
Our superstar from the Extreme Festival just this Saturday past, Saud Variawa finds himself running a bit wide, and I think that Jason Kutsia has also had a off-track. Oh dear, that's cost the Ironman Jason Kutsia, and he was well up. But I think enough of those replays. Let us go back to see exactly where we're at out on circuit, and let's go to the front end of the field. Frankie, working our way down.
Right, that's a lot of big names that had a lot of problems out there, but we are on lap 6, 10.5 minutes done. Then it's Byron Mitchell, that's 1.6 seconds ahead of Keegan Masters, who is fighting here with Familiaris. He's 0.2 of a second behind Julian. Julian all over the back end of him. Then in that 4th position is Luke Lucchesi, and Luke has got them racked and stacked there. Well, that fight hasn't stopped between Luke Lucchesi, Leighton Ferree and Matt Shorter. That's the 3 of them that you see there in P4, 5 and 6. Then in P7, 2 seconds behind them is the BMW of Jacques Buerta, and in P8, 1.7 seconds behind him is Jared Boberski. Jared Boberski out there in the Porsche. Sorry, I lie, the Ferrari. And he's got Zak Forster right on his case there. Zak only 0.6 of a second behind him. Then Umpi Swart is in that 10th position, and he's 1.1 seconds ahead of Jan Spammers.
Yep, Jan Spammers got lots of pressure from the man himself, Willem Buerta, the Toyota Gazoo and Castrol man, and he has got a bit of space behind him, so Willem Buerta can concentrate on pressurizing Jan Spammers. But then you got Leon van Wyk and Peter Hubert. Peter Hubert has been pretty much mid-pack recently, but definitely improving race for race. In there behind that is Rudy Murray. Chase Herald has made himself a bit more available to the top 10, having not had a good qualifying session. He finds himself up to that 16th and having a look as he tried to get past there by Jason Kutsia, and Jason Kutsia has dropped down. So Chase Herald holding that one off. But look how far this man is down. Graham Stephen down in 17th.
Yeah, there was contact between Harold and Kutsia, and Kutsia's dropped all the way down to 22nd position. But yeah, as you look at that, and that is a fight on track for 17th position. It's been held there by Graham Stephen, but he has got Bradley Liebenberg and Keegan Campos, and Liebenberg just past Campos, and then Lou King is in that fight as well, and they are all battling it out there just behind Graham Stephen.
Yeah, behind that is Sandro Bakari, and then the man himself, Dr. Mike Berrier. And can you believe it, Captain Peter just hasn't worked for him this time around, down in 23rd position. And the recovering Corne Breed, remember we showed you the two incidents that he was in earlier on. Corne Breed right in there behind him, and then Shame Sawud Variawa coming off a hell of a big high and now dropping all the way down the leaderboard.
But Gary, we've got to look at that fight for 4th position, because Fourie and Shorter is still all over the back of 4th place man Luke Lucchese. There you go. There is Luke. There is Leighton Fourie. Leighton Fourie is the reigning Polo Cup champion, not defending his title this year as he's moved to Super Cup, but he's doing very, very well in the Canvas Intelligence and ISAP GTE series backed by MSA, and he is right in there, is Leighton Fourie on the case of Luke Lucchese, and that man we're right on board with now, Matt Shorter, 0.5 of a second in there behind the man in P5, Leighton Fourie.
You kind of get the impression that Matt Shorter is actually applying the pressure. He's dropped Jock Buerter, Jared Werberski. Now, surely he would be very aware as they go up the first section of the front main. They're going to go through underneath the start-finish line now. That's where that marshal is that you go through underneath there, and now downhill towards turn number 1. Now, Matt Shorter has managed to make a gap on Jock Buerter and Jared Werberski. You would tend to think that he is now confident to have a go at these two in front of him.
Oh, they are side by side. It is Leighton Fourie. Is Leighton going to make the move? Yes, Leighton Fourie has made the move there on Luke Lucchese. And Lucchese loses a position to Leighton Fourie. And here comes Matt Shorter.
Not for long.
And here comes Lucchese back at Fourie again. They side by side. Lucchese on the left of your screen. Fourie on your right-hand side of the screen, which now becomes the left-hand side. And the man with the best seat in the house there is Matt Shorter.
Yeah, no doubt Matt Shorter watching that. Luke Lucchese, not very many people can say I passed Luke Lucchese while Luke is on the circuit. Yes, Luke does make mistakes here and there, but it's only because he rides 11/10ths all the time. Let's keep an eye also while that's on the go. Don't forget about this battle. That's Julian Familiares. And that's all over the back of Keegan Masters that just found himself lightly on the grass. And Julian Familiares now putting lots and lots of pressure in at this point to see if he can get himself up into that second position. That's allowed Byron Mitchell, once again, Byron Mitchell, the quickest man out there, getting away from everybody. But let's go back to that Matt Shorter bird's eye view of that three-way battle.
Well, that's German engineering at its best there for P2. That is Porsche versus BMW. And this is an all Porsche fight out there for that 4th position. Also German engineering at its best there. That is Fourie, Lucchese and Shorter in the Porsches. And now Matt Shorter had a look there on the outside of Luke Lucchese. Now Lucchese, as they come out the last corner, has gone into defensive mode. As a matter of fact, these guys are keeping each other up. And Jacques Buerta is there. Jacques in P7, 1.5 seconds behind the Fourie, Lucchese and Shorter combination. There he comes. And right behind him is Werberski. Jared Werberski is closing as well, together with Zach Forster. And don't write off Umpi Swart neither. It's going to be a hell of a fight out there for that 4th position shortly.
Well, here's the reason why we don't see Graham Stephen higher up. He was involved in a massive incident, and that took him right out of the game completely. So Graham Stephen initially went off track, and that got him out of his position where he was, and he got then tagged like that. But that looks like he had some other kind of damage on the motor car, because he in fact went off track just before that, pending back just a little bit further. So you might find there's a bit of damage on that motor car. Yes, and that's why the car wasn't running correctly. You could see it was not looking in very good shape. He got it back on track, and then it wasn't handling the way that he wanted it to handle, and that's when you could see go. Now he's just trying to get it back to the pits. He's losing positions all the time. James Stephen with a badly damaged car, having come off the wall here. You can see it's tracking very, very badly, and it was as soon after that he then got tagged from behind, well, from the side, should I say. Look how bad that is.
Heavily.
How did he carry that amount of speed? I don't know. Then he got it onto the grass, and bang, that's where he got tagged. So that was the sorry situation that he found himself in. So don't forget about this superstar, Byron Mitchell, that is up front, but the battles are actually happening just behind him.
You're talking about Byron Mitchell as we have a look at that fight a bit further down with Familiaris on the back end there of Masters. Byron was at that time attack that we had at Killarney over the weekend in that Formula VW 2-litre Reynard of his, and he'd done the 1.9k anti-clockwise in, I think, about 56 or 57 seconds. So Byron comes off a very good stint at Killarney this Saturday and Sunday. But that is in the past. This is happening now. And it is Leighton Fourie, Luke Lucchese, and Matt Shorter that you see there. And Fourie is beginning to open up a little bit of a gap there on Luke Lucchese and Matt Shorter. But Gary, the BMW of Jacques Botha, there you see it, right on the case there of Matt Shorter.
Yeah, no, he's making use of that. There is no doubt about it. Somebody else that's...
Ooh, and Shorter gets it wrong. Shorter just overshot the corner, and he loses that position there to Jacques Botha. There he goes.
Yep.
Big mistake, overshooting, and loses that place to Botha.
Another man that's had to go back to pits, it must have been a pretty big shunt, was Chase Herald. Now, Chase Herald, very, very capable behind the steering wheel in real life and also in iRacing. And yeah, that's numerous people that we've seen losing it there. Finds himself sideways in front of everybody, manages to get it off to the side of the circuit, and gets it going again. So that cost Chase Herald quite a bit. So going back to that battle with Luke Lucchese, Mr. Luke Lucchese, as he says. But let's go back to Oompie Swart. Oompie Swart's busy working his way through the field as well. Remember, Oompie started a long, long way down, and Oompie's now got himself up to 9th position. In fact, let's have a look at those gains and losses.
Well, as we look at those gains and losses, they're right on the case there of Matt Short. Remember, Matt made a mistake and lost that 6th position to Jacques Botha. Matt has dropped down to P7, and all of a sudden, he's got P8 and P9. Zach Forster and Yuri Swart all over the back of him. Forster 0.6 of a second behind Shorter, and Oompie 0.3 of a second behind Forster. And Leon van Wyk and Rudy Marais have gone up 8 positions. Sandro Bakari and Mike Ver have gone up 9 positions. And Rainier Hubert has gone up, Gary, 11 positions.
Wow, that's something else. Another man that looks like he's putting in some very quick lap times is that man, Leighton Fourie. Now, if we look at the last times that was put up, look at that, Leighton Fourie, a 2 minutes 6:45. A 2:01, a 2:01, and a 2 minute 0.7 of the guys in front of him. So although Leighton is 2 seconds off the back of Julian Familiaris, I don't believe that he is out of this battle yet. I think that he is still in with a chance of getting himself into a top 3.
Only about 100th of a second between Fourie and Lucchese at this point in time, but they're both slower than Byron Mitchell on the last lap. He did a 2 minute 0.786. Did Byron Mitchell, but yes, Oompie Swart is right on the case there of Zach Forster, is all over the back end there of Matt Shorter, and that one is far from over there with Yuri. That's also made up a good couple of positions. He is 0.3 of a second behind Forster, who is 0.7 of a second behind Shorter.
Well, I think it's a matter of time before he passes his last lap at 2:01.20. A 2:03.09 by Zach Forster, and that shows you exactly why you've got that situation where he has closed right up onto the back of Zach Forster. So a little bit further down, it looks like Rudy Marais is closing onto the back of that man in front of him, Leon van Wyk, but there's still a bit of space. Luke King on the edge of getting past Brad Limburg.
Yeah, I remember Luke King had a pretty decent qualifying session, and he's having a one-on-one there with Liebenberg, and he's got him. You said he was on the case of getting past Brad Ball. There you see Luke is in P15, Brad is in P16. So Luke King in the BMW has made the move there on the Ferrari, and he has moved up into that 15th position. But Gary, that fight out there for P7 still continues between Shorter, Forster, and Swart.
As we're going to go to that now, the Luke King, Brad Liebenberg, the reason why they are by themselves is because Willem Botha actually went off the circuit, and it was with Willem losing the track like that battle that we were watching actually went past him, and there you can see as he tries to get going again. That's why Willem is directly in there behind that. Frankie, you were looking at that Umpi Swart battle. Let's go back to that.
Yeah, that is that fight out there for P7. That is they in there just behind Matt Shorter, that Zak Forster, and then that man in the BMW, Yuri Umpi Swart, that sits there in that 9th position. A big thanks to Canvas Intelligence, to ASAP New News Motor Spares, and the show brought to you by Second Gear Productions. A big thanks to one and all, and to Motorsport SA as well. I just saw a car disappear. I thought it was Shorter. It is Shorter. Matt Shorter, whoa, Matt Shorter, remember he overran earlier on and gave that position up there to Botha, to Jacques Botha, and now once again a couple of laps later, Gary, problems out there for Matt Shorter.
Keep an eye on Jared Luberski. Jared finds himself 1.2 in there behind Jan Spammers, that also made a name for himself with the 6-hour races, as we follow Umpi Swart working his way up through the grid. Let's just look at what is the gain so far for Umpi Swart. 5 positions up, 6 up for Jan Spammers as well. Jacques Botha, 8 positions up. Utterly brilliant stuff. But there's just so much happening out there. Julian Familiaris not letting Keegan Masters get away whatsoever. I think Julian Familiaris is not wanting to allow Keegan Masters to fall too far back from Byron Mitchell. Now, does he apply the pressure on Keegan and slow both of them down and give Byron an open run at the front, or do you go for it, make the pass before Byron gets too far away, and try and go and fetch the man up front?
Well, it's a hard decision to make there. It's going to be one of those two. I don't know, but Familiaris is right on the case of Masters. He needs to actually clear Keegan Masters, because it's been proven in this one that Byron is pulling away from Keegan. He's nearly 5 seconds ahead of Keegan Masters. Maybe Familiaris, if he can get through, can go after him. But Luke Lucchesi, on the other hand, is all over the back there of Leighton Fourie. He's 0.4 of a second behind Fourie is Lucchesi, as they go under the Speedville Bridge into the carousel, working their way out of the carousel. Then they'll go through the kink, and then from the kink they'll go on to Kettle Bottoms. That's a little short straight they got. Then the kink will be just there ahead of them. That's the kink. And then it's flat out down Kettle Bottoms, which will take them to a Canada corner. So Luke Lucchesi now, will he get the slipstream there on Leighton Fourie and make the move before they get to Canada corner? No, he doesn't.
Well, if you think that Leighton Fourie is consistently 2 to 2.1 seconds off Julian Familiaris, Julian Familiaris is actually closing on the back of Keegan Masters. Keegan Masters is falling back from Byron Mitchell. So you're from Keegan going back to Luke Lucchesi, that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, that is actually closing up and getting tighter and tighter. Can Jacques Botha go and join the two of them? Well, Byron Mitchell once again puts in a 2-minute flat, and Luke Lucchesi also goes in a 2-minute flat as well, just a tenth or so quicker than everything in front of him. Leighton Fourie has done very well to get to where he is, but to hold Luke out is going to be something else. They must not hold one another up, because that's going to let Julian get away.
Well, yeah, well, you know what? Watch out there for Jacques Botha. If Fourie, that Leighton and Luke keep each other up, that's once again going to bring Jacques Botha into play. He's only 2 seconds behind the combination of Leighton Fourie and Luke Lucchesi. So, fights all over the place. Zak Forster, as you see there on screen, is 0.5 of a second behind Yuri Swart, that you just see ahead of him.
So that's just after Yuri passed him.
That's a battle of the two BMWs. So now let's have a look and see. As you say, Yuri made the move on him there. So let's see if that gap between Swart and Forster gets bigger. And once again, Jan Spammers has got Jared Boberski all over him. That's a DAW Ferrari of Jared Boberski that is all over the back end of the Jan Spammers car. So Boberski is chasing down the Spammers car, the Ferrari chasing down the Porsche.
Yep, and that's Rudy Marais on the back of Leon van Wyk. Nothing much between the two of them. And well, look, right down the bottom in 24th position is Johan Ferry. Wow, not what he would like to have been seeing in front of him or whatsoever. Johan Ferry in there behind Swayze Hubert and outside of the top 20. I think it's going to take one massive fight back to get back from that.
It's going to happen, to be honest with you, as Johan Ferry has just made the move there on Swayze Hubert, and he's in there now behind Renier Hubert, and Renier is in that 22nd position. Johan in 23rd. Has been an absolutely horror show for Johan. His race didn't even last a quarter of a lap and he was in trouble out there. But Jared Boberski is right on the back there of Jan Spammers. Jared Boberski, why is
he just, there's the move he made. There's the replay. That was the move. That was the first move that he made. And what we're seeing now live is the second car that he's going for.
And Forster, and I see Jacques is down in P10 and he's 0.8 of a second behind Spammers. That's just been nailed there. That's the reason why. Trouble out there for Botha, and that's why I saw him so far down the leaderboard.
Yeah, and you got to get off and out of the way and onto the grass to try and come back, and then you nowhere near top speed, and there comes that battle from behind. He tried to put it in the middle of the track, but good night, nurse. Boberski decides he's going to go through as well, and that's cost Jacques Botha very, very badly. Jared Boberski slowly but surely moving his way towards the top. Remember, he missed the last round. He was leading the championship before round number 3. He had other racing commitments. In fact, I think he was out of the country with the DAW sponsorship, taking him out of the country to go and race elsewhere. And he said, well, unfortunately, it's one of those things. I'm going to have to miss this one if I need to. And he's now working his way up.
Of Jan Spammers, and got that the BMW's tail on the dirt and wagging all over the place. We know that Jacques Botha is a very good eye racer, and he just made a mistake, and that dropped him all the way down into that 10th position. But don't write Jacques Botha off in that 888 BMW. That thing is squirming all over the place out the final corner as Jacques Botha 0.5 of a second there behind Jan Spammers. He will certainly have a go at him somewhere, and Spammers 0.4 of a second behind Boberski as we have a look at the man from Durant Motorsport up front, Byron Mitchell, 5.8 seconds ahead there of Keegan Masters.
Oh, it looks like Luke Lucchese's had an off circuit as well. Let's have a look at that one. Not too bad. So Byron Mitchell looking pretty good up front, no doubt about it. And he's slowly but surely breaking away from that man, Keegan Masters. Zach Foster, the last man that was passed by Umpi, and that was for that 6th position. And Zuck's done pretty well to actually hold onto the back of Umpi. Remember, Umpi started a long way down, and I think he was something like 14th position, and he's worked his way all the way up to 6th position, but now 6 seconds off Luke Lucchese, who is no slouch out there whatsoever. Can Umpi get further towards the front? Well, I don't know. Zak Foster, if he can stick with Umpi, he will probably find himself going further towards the front end of the field. There comes Jared Weberski, the man that was leading the competition, and then a Jacques Butter all onto the back again. Once again, after that off that he had, onto the back of Jan Spammers as they go through turn number 1. Francois Joubert had a bit of an off as well, unfortunately for him, as he comes down the front main down towards turn number 1. Comes in there pretty hard and just goes a little bit too hard. Oh, that's massive contact. And he did jump back to the pit, so that's going to cost him dearly.
As he can. Look at Jacques Buert and the BMW soaring away there at the steering wheel to keep that BMW in contact with Sparmans.
Well, that's a bit of a difficult situation. If you don't get through, Weberski's going to get away. You in that 10th position. You got a 5-second gap back to Leon van Wyk, Rudy Marais, Luke King, Peter Joubert. So a pretty safe position for Jacques Buert. I think he's got missile lock on Jan Spammers, and I think that is going to be purely a stepping stone to try and pick up the tail end of Weberski, expecting Weberski as one of the top point scorers to be moving towards the front end of the field, as he's had a bad qualifying, and he's been moving forward place for place. Well, that's pretty interesting stuff. Now, can he hold on to the back of Jared Weberski? That's the next question. Jared Weberski, remember, is 4.2 off the back of 6-hour main man Zak Forster. So nothing easy for him to try and get slightly further forward. Somebody we haven't spoken about for a while is Peter Joubert, and he finds himself on the tail end of Brad Liebenberg, and that got just inside the top 15.
I was pointing out to that one there between Liebenberg and Peter Joubert. So Brad in P14, Peter in P15, 8/10 of a second between Liebenberg and Joubert. Peter Joubert out there with a Porsche. Wow, did Max Short to pick up another problem? Well, it's just been not. He's always going to do a swap on him. Yes, it does. And into the dirt he goes, and back out onto the track does the man in Porsche number 22. Now, Keegan Masters all over the place.
Ouch!
This could cost him. This is going to cost him dearly, Gary, because Familiaris would have taken that position away from him.
Yep, and that off circuit there by Matt Short, that's going to cost him big time, because there was a couple of cars that was pretty close behind him, and you can see there he's pushing it very hard to try and hold on to that one, and that's cost him. Keegan Masters has in fact gone into the pit lane, and he's busy dropping down. You can see he's now fallen in there behind Keegan Masters. He's in behind Luke King. Brad Liebenberg goes through. Peter Joubert goes through there. You can see him sitting in the pit lane, and that takes him right out of it. So Jan Spammers of the guys that's in the top 10 is in the biggest battle that he's been in for a long time, and that's trying to hold on to the back of Jacques Butter.
Yeah, well, Keegan.
Oops. It looks like I think it's Soward Bariawa that's gone into the pit lane, so maybe a couple of pit stops about to happen. Graham Stephen, Soward Bariawa, and Francois Hubert and Josh Koetser that are in the pits at the moment, as we keep an eye there on Jan Spammers. But looks like that Luke King, Rudy Murray, Leon van Wyk, it looks like that is where the action is right now.
That position is a lot that's going into the right hander now. Luke King in the dot soft +2 plumbing BMW that is right there on the case of that's them in P10 is the Porsche Leon van Wyk.
Well, we've just got a message come through here. Frankie's mic is intermittent. Frankie just wrapped that lead around for us, and yeah, let's hopefully that nothing goes wrong with that one as we watch that battle out there. Well, 90 minutes of action, the Canvas Intelligent MSA back GTE series for 2022. It's all about Byron Mitchell that's doing it all right up front, and well, we've seen this happen before, that Byron Mitchell just up dusts and disappears, but he's already got himself a 6-second gap, and I think it's because of the fact that Leighton Fourie is actually worried quite a lot about that man behind him, and he's called Julian from the RS.
Yeah, Julian sitting out there in that third position all over the back end there of Leighton Fourie. Now remember that when Shorter got it all wrong, Fourie, well, Familiaris is now behind Leighton Fourie. Julian was in that second position. He's now dropped down into third position, and Leighton Fourie has moved up now into that second place. So let's have a look and see what did go wrong there. Nothing. It just dive bombed him on the inside, and that is why Fourie has gone up into second and Familiaris has dropped down into third.
Oh, no doubt about it. A very close fight there that's happening. Let's go back to live as we watch these guys up front. Julian from the RS in there with Leighton Fourie, and it looks like it was somebody that just dived into the pits, but I think that was probably, by the color of the car, it was Graham Stephen. No, it was Matt Shorter that went into the pits. Matt Shorter, very similar color to that of Graham Stephen, and he finds himself going into the pit lane. Luke King and Leon van Wyk battle still carries on.
Well, yeah, that is the fight out there for 10th position between Leon van Wyk and Luke King and Rudy Murray. There, the three of them are in the same shot as they race down the home straight, making their way into turn number one. That's the Porsche from the BMW from the Ferrari, as Matt Shorter now joins right in between that fight.
Yeah, well, Matt Shorter was in the pit lane earlier on. So what is the story in terms of going into the pits? We are on 41 minutes. We're in a 90-minute race, so 45 minutes would in fact be halfway for this specific race, as Luke King is putting the pressure on. Let's go back to Julian from the RS and Leighton Fourie. We just can't get away from that one. I think it's going to end up being a dive into the pits, and who does the overcut or the undercut is going to make the difference between the two of them. Leighton Fourie is now dropping back off Byron Mitchell, and it's not because he's doing bad lap times. Let's have a look at the last lap times that they have in fact done. It's because Byron Mitchell is a 2:07, a 2:01.1 by Leighton Fourie, a 2:02 by Julian from the RS, a 2:01.2. So a big difference there between Luke Lucchese and Julian from the RS. But keep in mind that Julian from the RS is doing the fight in there behind Leighton Fourie and probably had a look somewhere, didn't make it, and that's what makes his lap time look just a little bit slower on the last lap, but definitely on the pace, no doubt about it. In terms of the pit stops, well, I think that is going to be where the interesting part comes. Let's have a look who has been into the pits. Nobody inside of the top 20 except for the comeback of Johan Fourie. So as always, Johan Fourie, even though things go wrong, he works his way back, and then you can see problems that have caused pit stops there for the likes of Jason Kutsia, Juan Engelbrecht, Raymond Duggan, Renier Hubert, and Matt Shorter, and Graham Stephen as well. Wow, some big names that are really battling out there.
Well, Familiaris is still going one-on-one here with Leighton Fourie. Remember, he wants that second position back there from Leighton. He got it slightly wrong and never lost the circuit at all. He just went way wide and was a touch slow at that point in time, and that's why Fourie took that position away from him, and he wants to get that BMW back there into that second position. Jacques Botha has now also made his way into the pit area.
Yep, Jacques Botha into the pit area. A couple of the people that have had offs recently, one of them was this man, Renier Hubert. And then another, whoa, that was a long way into the kitty litter. It's going to take him a long time to recover from that. And then Johan Engelbrecht also just a little bit too hard on the brakes and going in there very deep and very late, and that's cost him. I see there's Johan Fourie has started making some more passing maneuvers as we see Johan Fourie on his way up the front main, and that pass is because of those cars that are standing in the pits, and for that reason Johan Fourie climbing further and further up the leaderboard, but frankly still light years away from this Leighton Fourie Julian Familiaris battle. And if you think Leighton Fourie up 7 positions, Umpi Swart up 8 positions, Jan Spammers up 7 positions, and then we've had quite a bit of time to watch Leon van Wyk and Rudy Marais, and they both up 11 positions. So some big turnarounds with some big names.
Sander Bakari up 12 positions. He's there in that 16th position. And some of the big losers there is Keegan Masters and Johan Fourie down 15 positions, as well as Jason Kutsia. So yeah, a couple of names that should be in the top 10 of the leaderboard is way out the top 15 for that matter. As we look at Leon van Wyk, and he is having a go there at Luke King. He's 0.6 of a second in there behind King. There comes King. There is van Wyk. And the man that's moved up all those positions, Sander Bakar, has gone up 12 positions. He's there in that 16th position. And is he going to have a go at Keegan Campos? Let's have, as a matter of fact, he's gone past Campos. He's gone up 13 positions now. So Sander Bakari is there, you can see, ahead of Keegan Campos, as Johan Fourie has a look and makes a move there on Mike Verrier.
So Johan Fourie just keeps on coming back up to 17th position already. More and more people starting to dive into the pit lane. So Johan Fourie moves up 1. But to go another step further forward, back to Keegan Masters, 2.5 seconds to get to Keegan. That's not going to be very easy. But we will keep tracking his progress as he goes through. So, Frankie, let's run from the top of the field down, because I'm pretty sure they're all going to start going into the pits very soon.
We've done 46 minutes, so we're just over the halfway mark. So anytime from now, the routine pit stops will start. That is the final corner, and that is Byron Mitchell from Durant Motorsport that you see sitting out there in P1. He's 8.6 seconds ahead of Leighton Fourie. That's in that second position. And Leighton has got Julian Familiaris in P3. There you see the two of them right there with each other, with the Familiaris all over the back end there of Fourie.
Yep, just a little bit further back from that is a Luke Lucchese. That was him that was just coming in the background over the rise. There's Luke Lucchese, and he's got himself a 5-second gap on one of the other frequent flyers. That is Yuri Swart. He had a mediocre weekend as opposed to his normal race pace over the last weekend now with the Extreme Festival, but he was leading the championship after the first round down here in Cape Town. Zak Foster, well, we said, can Zak Foster hold on to Umpi Swart after Umpi passed him? Yes, sort of. He's dropped 2 seconds down, but I don't think he's going to be able to catch up again. Jared Werberski already up to 7th, and he is on the move. Jared Werberski up 3 positions, and I'm sure it's going to go more.
Yeah, Jared is 3.3 seconds behind Zak Forster. Let's have a look and see if he can catch up onto the back of him. P8 is Jan Spalmers. That man there in P9, you see, is Luke King in that number 3 BMW. And then rounding off the top 10, 2 seconds behind King, is the 32 Porsche, the 79 Porsche of Leon van Wyk. And then we see the 32 Ferrari in P11, 1.7 seconds behind Van Wyk, and that is Rudy Murray.
Brad Lindbergh not in dropped out of it either. He is there in that 12th position. He's got a 6-second gap right now on a man that's up 7 positions. That is Peter Hubert. And Peter Hubert is in reasonably safe waters, except for that, which is Willem Botha. But I think they're pretty much on the similar pace. Somebody just went a little bit wide there, and we'll pick that one up for you. The next one down behind that is, in fact, Rudy Murray. And then a big gap back to the 15th position, going back to Sandro Bakari.
Yeah, Sandro Bakari, man that's gone up 13 positions. Keegan Masters, the man that's dropped down 14 positions in there behind him. This is a replay of Corne Britt, and he was all over the playing field there and just managed to stay on track with Rainier Hubert in that 17 Ferrari. Some serious track limits there just before he goes into the carousel. Rudy Murray as well, getting it all wrong.
That's a popular spot to go off if there is such a thing as Jan Spammers and Leon van Wyk go into the pit lane. And this is probably, frankly, where it is going to start, as they're going to be dropping down to 12th to 13th, around about 14th position. But who's going to blink up front? Is Byron Mitchell going to stay out as long as he possibly can, let Leighton go in and then come out, not in traffic? But then again, Byron Mitchell is only 2.4 seconds behind Johan Engelbrecht in 24th position. So he's only got one car within 10 seconds in front of him. So I think if Byron can stay out for now, I do think he will, because Johan Engelbrecht, being one of the, I wouldn't say the elderly, the senior statesman, but one of the older generation hardcore drivers that's very aware of what's happening around him, I don't believe Johan Engelbrecht will scare Byron Mitchell in terms of making a clean passing maneuver and keeping that gap from the super quick Leighton Ferrari, who's under immense pressure still from Julian Familiaris, the Mobile 1 V8 driver.
Yeah, let's have a look and see it. This one is going to be interesting for sure, because Ferrari that took that second place after Familiaris got it all wrong, and Julian is coming right back at him again. So Julian is 0.6 of a second just behind Leighton Ferrari in that fight for second and third position. That's about the only fight out there. Then there's one for P20 with Jason Kutsia that's going to have a go somewhere there at Leon van Wyk. But otherwise, it's all about this one that you see out there on your screen. Leighton Ferrari and Julian Familiaris, the Porsche versus the BMW.
Keeping in mind that the two highest people that have been into the pits already is in fact Keegan Masters and Johan Ferrari. Seeing that we're 51 minutes into a 1.5 hour race, does that mean that those stops that they made because probably of damage to the cars is going to carry them to the end, and they're going to climb up the leaderboard? Well, we'll have to see if they're going to end up having to make another stop. The last lap times that we saw, Byron Mitchell, Leighton Ferrari and Julian Familiaris all in the sub 2.0s. There we go. The first of the 2 minute 1 seconds is from Luke Kukisi down through Umpiswat.
Sandro Bakari is there in the pit lane in 51 minutes. So is he in for routine pit stop? I would think he is. Is Bakari in the Ferrari? Sounds good, Bakari in the Ferrari. So Luke King out there in that 8th position, and he's 7 seconds behind Jared Boberski. And Jared only 3.9 seconds behind Zak Forster. And I thought that by now Boberski would be a lot closer to Forster. but Zak holding his own so far.
Yep, Rudy Murray and Willem Botha, they still pretty close to one another. None of the big hitters have dropped into the pit lane yet. As you can see, Luke King is also into the sub 201s. That's very, very quick. Leighton Ferry's into the pit lane. There's the first of the big hitters to dive into the pit lane. That is Leighton Ferry. So what does Luke Lucchese do? Luke Lucchese follows him in as well. What does Umpi Swart do? Is Umpi going to run through? This looks like, yep, this is the lap that they're going to be coming. Zak Foster, the man that he passed, comes in as well. Jared Waberski, the man that was leading the championship, he's done a bit of fuel saving. He's going to go on and do another lap. So Leighton Ferry, Luke Lucchese, Umpi Swart, Zak Foster, and Luke King all into the pit lane. The leading car into the pit lane is then, in fact, Leighton Ferry, which leaves this man, Byron Mitchell, way out in front, but not having made that crucial pit stop yet.
Yeah, now he's 9.5 seconds ahead of Miliaris. Now let's have a look and see what's going to happen when he has to do his pit stop, as Luke King is busy moving down pit lane. Rudy Murray is busy going through, and Rudy Murray now finds himself in that 4th position purely because he has not made a pit stop yet, as Peter Hubert makes his way into the pit area. And coming out now, well, yeah, they start coming out. Yeah, they start coming out now. And Ferry, Leighton leads that pack out onto the circuit.
I'm pretty sure if we go back to that pit stops, we're going to find he is the leading man that has done a pit stop. Yes, he is. So Leighton Ferry is the highest up of the people that have done a pit stop. But look at the gap between himself and Byron Mitchell. Byron should be able to come in and go out without any problem whatsoever. The problem for Leighton is Keegan Masters is closed right up onto the back of him, and the recovering Johan Ferry is coming into play now as well. Somehow Johan Ferry back up into 7th.
Well, this is a lovely fight out there, and they are fighting each other one-on-one. So into the pits comes Byron Mitchell, now your race leader. Is in the pit area, and here comes Julian Familiaris as well. So both of them into the pit area, into pit lane. Here goes Jared Waberski. Waberski hasn't made a pit stop yet, neither has Rudy Murray. So let's have a look, see what Waberski does. Surely Jared must bring that Ferrari into the pits now, and yes, he does.
Well, the next one up then is Rudy Murray, and Rudy Murray as the last of the top 5, 6, 7 that's got to come through there. So Byron Mitchell is still in the pits. Is he going to be able to hold on to that one? Byron Mitchell has just stopped in his position. Where is Julian Familiaris? He is right in there behind him. Where is Jared Waberski? Jared Waberski is busy working his way now into the pits. And then the next man on the log is Rudy Murray, and he has to now come into the pits. So Leighton Ferry, having done his pit stop already, where is he going to now falter back into this group? Surely Byron Mitchell is going to be the man that's going to lead out. Leighton Ferry will pass everybody else except for Byron Mitchell once he gets past the start-finish line.
Well, we'll have a look and see. I think Mitchell is going to be in that pits. No, I think he's come out the pits already. There you see Waberski still there in the pits. So, yeah, Byron Mitchell has done it. In first, out first is Mitchell, and he's 11.9, nearly 12 seconds ahead there of Julian Familiaris. And then that man you see on screen there, Leighton Ferry, and he has got only a 7/10 of a second gap between himself and Keegan Masters. Those two cars you see in frame, and not too far behind them, here comes Luke Lucchese.
Yep, Mr. Luke Lucchese is not out of it whatsoever. He's right in there as well. He's also done his one stop. We're 56 minutes into 1 hour 30, so probably find that hardly anybody is going to have to do a second stop, except for those that were forced in earlier on. Mike Verrier has not been into the pits yet. He finds himself right now inside of the top 10. Surely Mike Verrier is going to have to go in pretty soon.
He's going to have to. There's no ways you can do an hour and a half on one tank of fuel. So he's going to have to go in somewhere. But look at Waberski. Waberski in P8 is all over the back of the man in P7, Zak Foster, as Mike Verrier loses the circuit there.
Yep, unfortunately, Mike Verrier going off track. Let's just go back to that one as Mike Verrier had a bit of an off while I think he was busy looking at the fuel gauge. Frankie took his eye off the track because he's one of the very last to be in a situation where he still got to make that pit stop. Jared Wyberski inside of the top 10, the man that was leading the series after 2 rounds. This is round number 4. Big thanks to Canvas Intelligence as Zach Costa coming under more and more pressure from that man. He wants through. His name's Jared Wyberski. His father's a champion. He wants to be a champion as well.
Well, I think Wyberski is a SA karting champion, if my facts are right. And he certainly wants to go after Zach Foster here as they go up that main straight. Then it levels out before you go into that 90-degree right-hander. That is turn number 1. Jared Wyberski right on the case, closes in slightly under braking there on Zach Foster. Only 0.3 of a second between Foster and Wyberski as they make their way into turn number 3, which is another 90-degree right-hander.
Well, there's nothing much between them in terms of out-and-out pace. There's no doubt about it. There you can see visually from upstairs the distance between the two of them. Looks like Mike Berrier has now come into the pit lane. Let's check on that. Yep, it is Mike Berrier that's in the pit lane. But somebody that must be smiling for quite a long time already. He's got a 12-second gap on the highly acclaimed Julian Familiaris, the Mobile One V8 racer from Extreme Festival, coming, I think, 3rd overall in heat number 1 on Saturday with the Extreme Festival race. Julian Familiaris, one of the best out there. Ex-Polo Cup South African champion Leighton Fourie finds himself 9 seconds off the back with Julian Familiaris. Is he going to make up that gap, Frankie? I somehow don't think so. I think Julian's got the pace. If you think about it, we almost an hour, there's only 30 minutes left, and to make up 10 seconds, that's going to be quite a big ask. Somebody that's done very well, to my mind, Keegan Masters.
Yeah, Keegan Masters, but he had problems of his own early on, and he is right in there now, and he is busy making a serious comeback there. Only 1.5 seconds between himself and Leighton Fourie. Julian Familiaris did the SA V8 Supercars at Swartkops last weekend. And there was only about 8 or 9 of them out on track, but there were 8 or 9 hot shots out on circuit, and racing was very close, and Julian did extremely well. And another man that's doing well, here he goes, Wyberski on Foster. Surely into turn 1, he must make the move up on the inside. He's got the slipstream on him. He moves on to his right-hand side, and this will be a pass. Yes, it is, into turn 1 for Jared Wyberski, getting his nose ahead there of Zach Foster.
Well, he had that lined up very, very neatly as they come down towards turn 3. Then they go through that middle stretch. That's them coming towards us now. And, well, I think Wyberski is pretty much doing what he wanted to do, slowly but surely, continuously just creep forward and keep on trucking. We know Zach Foster has got the pace. We know he's got the durability. He's proved it in the 6-hour races. But the DAW car, having got past him, Jared Wyberski, I think he's going to have to really stretch his legs to be able to hold on to him. Let's just look at the last lap times that was done between these riders. And the last lap was a 202.1 for Jared Wyberski and a 202.4. So 0.3 was the difference between them. Jared, including doing that passing maneuver, equaled the times of Umpi Swart, but he is 4 seconds further back.
Yeah, Leighton Fourie's last lap was the fastest of everybody out there. He's sitting in that 3rd position. He did it 2 minutes, 9.56. So Leighton Fourie on the previous lap was the fastest driver out there. So Wyberski, that is now in that 7th place. He's slowly but surely beginning to edge away from Forster. Although I would have thought that by now he would have been further ahead of Zach. But Zach says, no ways, I don't care that your name is Jared Wyberski, young man. I'm in here and I'm not going to let you get away. My BMW is going to be all over the back of you. And he's only 0.7 of a second behind Wyberski. So at this point in time, he's keeping Wyberski very, very honest. Big thanks to our sponsors for this event: Canvas Intelligence, ASAP New and Used Motor Spares, and MSA for the backing, and brought to you by Second Gear Productions.
Frankie, I'm going to ask the impossible question, and I'm going to give you my answer to it. Overall, in this race, an hour down, who do you think has put up the one-off fastest best lap time? Logic says it's probably going to be Byron Mitchell, but my second guess is going to be Leighton Ferree. Before I put it up, what would you guess?
Yo, that's tough.
You can't count Luke McKeezy out either, but
No,
Keegan Masters must have been on a pace.
I would go for Furee. Maybe even Waberski.
Not impossible. Let's have a
Let's
look.
have a look and see.
It's Byron Mitchell. Can you believe it? Inside of 2 minutes.
I thought you were talking about the fastest speeds around.
No,
Okay,
the fastest overall lap time as such.
Mitchell, yes.
And
With the
Keegan Masters.
159.974. But everybody else has done green sectors, which means that
Yeah.
personal best times.
Well, look, that is the personal best times that we put up there now. So only 2 people that have managed to do a sub 2 minute lap. Keegan Masters, 3,000ths inside of it. And just a little bit more than that, Byron Mitchell. Everybody else pretty close. Julian from the RS doing almost a 2 minute flat, as did Leighton Ferree as well. But everybody in the top 10 has done a 2 minute lap out there inside of 2:01. Just some interesting additional information out
some
there.
good info there. So Peter Hubert in that 14th position has got Willem Botha behind him. Willem is just under a second behind Peter Hubert. So Peter Hubert, that is Willem Botha you see in your screen there. And just ahead of him, you will see Peter Hubert. There they go. It's the 2 Porsches that are chasing each other down. And that will then be the fight for that 14th position, which is currently being held there by Peter Hubert. But Willem Botha is right in there behind him, and he's 0.8 of a second behind Peter Hubert. And that at this point in time is about the only fight on track, the one for that 14th position.
Well, Frankie, let's roll the reels back. The original idea came from Dr. Mike Berrier to come up with a MSA approved series, and the idea was to have time trials to pick out the best of the best of the best in South Africa to go one-on-one. That worked out pretty well. The offspin from that is the Porsche Cup, which was a case of there was almost about 62 people that actually did try and get into the Premier Series, being this the GTE series as such, backed by Canvas Intelligence and brought to you by Second Gear Productions. But the spin-off, as we said, was the Porsche Cup, and then we also have the Touring Car Series. So iRacing in South Africa, as on a lot of the main circuits, is actually in a very strong situation right now. Probably the best we've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, we need to get the viewership up. That's for sure. As Leon van Wyk just overcooks it going into that left-hander, and he hits the tire wall, and he will get back out onto track again. And then you see, I think that car that Dyson just went past him there was the one between, yes it was,
Jacques
the one
Botha.
between Peter Hubert and Willem Botha. They were still having that fight as we saw him recover.
Yeah.
There goes Peter, and there goes Willem.
That was the passing maneuver that you just spoke about now, and then Leon van Wyk coming back on track after that one. So as we move on, hour and 5 minutes into this one, Willem Botha trying to break his way into a top 10 position. He's in there behind Peter Hubert by less than a half a second, and then they've got the back marker, Raymond Duggan, Mr. Raymond Duggan in there behind them. Mike Verrier trying to make up some positions, but let's have a look what's happened to Johan Ferree. Johan Ferree finds himself, he's caught up a bit, but I mean, he was in an impossible situation so far back, and he just hasn't had much of a lucky streak whatsoever. Very much like Captain Peter van der Spey, that's just found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time and lost out pretty badly in terms of possible points.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Johan. He just turned itself around all on his own there in the Johan Ferree and Sons sponsored Ferrari, and it's just gone downhill there from him. So now Raymond Duggan has been caught there by Peter Hubert and Willem Botha, keeping in mind that Duggan is a back marker, so he'll just keep right out the way and allow Botha Hubert and Buerta to go through, and now they have both gone past Duggan, and now Renier Hubert gets in the way there of Peter, and now Peter Hubert has got the Buerta all over his back end, and that's going to cost the Peter Hubert back the big time, that back marker getting there in his way, and that was Renier Hubert that got in the way there of Peter. And all of a sudden, Willem is right in the fight.
Yeah, he ran into a problem after that. So you can see the bonnet is off on the front of that motor car, and you'll probably find that damage to that car, and that is why, like we saw Graham Stephen battling to keep that car on circuit as he went off track more than once. Yeah, you can see that car swimming around, and he's trying to stay out of everybody's way. Actually goes off the circuit once again. So things turning very, very pear-shaped for Renier Hubert right now.
So let's have a look and see. Willem Buerta is he's ahead now of Peter Hubert. He's 0.5 of a second ahead of Peter Hubert, and they've got Duggan behind them. But remember, Duggan is the back marker, so they will now obviously pull away from the back marker, and will Willem clear away from Peter? Well, that we're going to have to look and see. With nearly 1 hour and 10 minutes done, it's 1 hour 8 minutes on the clock. And now Peter's going to come back at him. Peter Hubert is going to come straight back there at Willem Buerta. That's down the main straight. He's up on his inside into turn number 1. And surely the wild roll with his slight contact. There's contact, and that's going to cost Willem Buerta big time. There was contact between Peter Hubert and Willem Buerta. Hubert continues, and Buerta finds himself in the sand, right up against the wall.
Oh, that's exactly what he didn't need. And now to get back up on pace again is something else. And, well, yep, it happens. Unfortunately, that's one of those things that does happen in this type of motorsport. It's a long, long ride out there. So with Willem Buerta going off track, and then Renier Hubert that also went off track there as well. And yeah, look at that. There you can see a different camera shot of that motor car. The front end is just completely mashed and going completely sunny side up for him. And it's just not going to work out for him at this stage of the fight.
So Willem Buerta is 2 seconds ahead there of Johan Fourie. And that is Zach Foster and Zach and having their own little fight out there. That is Zach Foster. Zach moving up into that 9th position with the Jan Sparmers not too far behind him. Jan Sparmers 2.8 seconds, as a matter of fact, is Jan Sparmers behind Foster, and Foster now right in there with Luke King.
Well, it's getting pretty interesting stuff out there. Yeah, what can we do? It's 1 hour 10 that's gone of the 1 hour 30. Jason Kutsia, the Ironman, he's just come into the pit lane again, so that's his second stop coming into the pit lane. So I think he was one of the people that had problems earlier on, and well, that one is now sorted out. And Byron Mitchell, well, it's all just working out for him perfectly. Can you believe it? For Byron Mitchell, it's brilliant stuff. He's just slowly but surely pulling away from a Julian Familiares.
Yeah, well, not a damn thing that Familiares can do at this point in time. The man from Durant Motorsport in the Ferrari, number 21, Byron Mitchell, with the 1 hour and 11 minutes gone. He is 12.7 seconds ahead of that man you see there in second position in the BMW, namely Julian Familiares. And I think at this point in time, Julian is saying, man, the only thing that's going to save me now is a problem out there for Byron Mitchell. Leighton Fourie is there in that third position, and he is 3.5 seconds ahead there of Keegan Masters. There's only one fight out there on track, and that's the one for 14th, and that's Willem Buerta that's closing up onto the back end there of Leon van Wyk. There comes Luke Lucchese through. And behind Luke Lucchese, 2.3 seconds later, is Umpi Swart. And then 4.3 seconds later is Jared Boberski. And then 13.3 seconds behind Boberski is Luke King. And then 1.4 seconds behind him is Zach Foster. So Zach Foster is right there with Luke King, and don't write off Jan Spalmers neither. He rounds off the top 10 and he's nearly 2.5 seconds behind Foster is Spalmers.
Just outside the top 10 is Jacques Buerter. He's got Peter Hubert not that far behind him. There comes Peter Hubert and that Peter Hubert, Rudy Murray. Rudy Murray not out of it whatsoever, probably one of his best. And then making the comeback, never ever giving up to 14th already, is Johan Fourie.
Yeah, Johan Fourie is in that 14th place, but look who's sailing in there behind him. That is the Toyota Gazoo Racing sponsored Porsche of Willem Botha. And Willem is saying, come on, Johan, let's have some fun. We have fun together in the iRacing Master Series. Let's do it out there. There is Leon van Wyk, and he's 6.8 seconds behind Botha, as Botha still all over the back there of Fourie. That is Sander Bakar. He was the man that initially moved up, I think, about 13 positions at once upon a time, and he's out there in 17th position, and he's 11.7 seconds ahead of Bradley Liebenberg, that is there in that 18th. Then in 19th is Keegan Campos, 1.2 seconds behind Liebenberg, and then rounding off the top 20, 2.5 seconds behind Keegan Campos, is Jason Kutsia.
Yep, Mike Berrier was one of the last people that went into the pits. Mike has come out of the pits and recovered just outside of the top 20. There is Mike Berrier. Remember, Corne Breed was right at the back of the pack at one stage of the fight. He's just kept on trucking. He hasn't given up whatsoever. And Corne Breed, although 11 seconds off the back of Dr. Mike, still in there and running. And also not giving up is this man, Johan Engelbrecht. He had problems earlier on and ended up going into the pits, and that cost him quite a bit of time. It looks like Keegan Campos has had an off. Keegan Campos has had an off. What went wrong for Keegan? I think that was track limits, that one. And then the other one that had a problem was Matt Shorter.
He had a nightmare. It started off so well for Matt Shorter, and it's just gone slightly pear-shaped as the tail steps out there on the Porsche of Shorter. He does rejoin again. Nice plumb center on the racing line. It almost gets mowed in there by, I think that was Luke Lucchese that almost took out the back end there of Shorter.
Wow, that was a dangerous one. Which way do you go? Reverse. If the person decides to go behind you, you reverse, you go into them. And if somebody decides, okay, odds are you're going to reverse back, get yourself back on circuit, they then going to go in front of you. You go forward, you go and you take them out. Jan Spalmers finds himself back in a fight once again. He's had a very interesting race.
Yeah, Jan Spalmers is right there behind Zach Foster. So that
Well, just picking up a slight hitch there with Frankie's mic, and we're trying to get that one messing around a little bit on us. We're trying to get that one sorted out for you as we are there with Jan Spammers, that is onto the back end of Zach Foster, and that with the top 10.
Right, so Jan Spalmers is there in that 10th position, only 0.6 of a second behind Zach Foster. That's the two of them that you see there. Zach coming out of that corner very slow, went into that turn very, very hot, and it's gone from 0.8 of a second to 0.2 of a second. Is Spalmers behind Foster, so surely the move is going to come sooner than later. Or will it not? Will Foster hold out Sparmers into the left-hander they go? Jacques Buerta in all sorts of trouble again. It's a replay of Jacques. His race started off so awesome, and then he's been up and down the leaderboard, and for some other reason it just locks up there on him in a straight line. But no problems out there for Jan Sparmers, and no problems out there for Zak Foster neither. The only problem Zak has got is that Jan is only 0.5 of a second in there behind him.
So a brilliant race it's been so far. Jason could see her into the pits, and so that earlier stop of his was a bit of a problem, and he means he has to come back out again and go into the pits, back into the race he comes right now. Umpi Swart slowly but surely working his way up. Let's have a look at the gains once again and see who's up, who's down.
Right, so who's gone up the most? Corne Breed has gone up the most. Sandra Bakari's was up 12, went up 13, lost one. It's back down to 12 again. Jason Coetzee has lost 13 position, and Matt Shorter, that's in pit lane, he's lost 19 positions, has Matt Shorter, and Jacques Buerta has lost 14 positions. So yeah, lots of losers, lots of gainers out there when it comes to track position. But at this point in time, it is still a fight there with Jan Sparmers in the Ferrari, and it's all over the back of the BMW there still of Zak Foster.
Well, a big thanks to all of our listeners and watchers that have been watching this race, picking up that mic problem, and looks like we've got that sorted out here in studio. So that's going to be all systems go with just about 11 minutes left in this race. Luke King and Jan Sparmers that you see there on screen, and that battle has been going on for a long time. Umpi Swart, nowhere near where we would have expected him to have started off, a long way down, in fact in 13th position down in row number 7 on the inside line. But like Johan Ferry, fighting his way back slowly but surely, finds himself up into that 6th position and closing on Mr. Luke Lucchese.
Yeah, Luke has got his work cut out there if he wants to keep Yuri behind him. Yuri Swart also of Durant Motorsport, so was Jason Coetzee for that matter. And Yuri Swart right in there behind Luke Lucchese. It's under 0.6 of a second. And Bradley Liebenberg in the Ferrari, the whole front end of that Ferrari, that whole bonnet area, if you can call it that, he's gone off that Ferrari of his. But no problems out there for Durant Motorsport, BMW, Yuri Umpi Swart. That's there in that 6th position, and he's got Luke Lucchese in there. He's only 0.5 of a second behind Luke Lucchese, and Lucchese's got a back mark ahead of him, and that back mark is Swayze Hubert. There you see Swayze, and then there you see Luke and Yuri, and Swayze will just have to keep out the way and let these two lead lap runners get past.
Well, this is going to be Battle of the Giants. Umpi Swart going 1-on-1 with Luke Lucchese. Can Umpi get past before the corner as well? He desperately needs to, and that was very close as he went past Swayze Hubert. I don't think... Oh, and Luke makes a mistake. Umpi comes up on that inside line, and they are side by side. Well, I tell you what, Luke Lucchese and Umpi Swart, we went to that battle because of the fact that Umpi Swart was actually closing on Luke Lucchese, and just a bit of a lock-up on the front brakes there, and that was Umpi that got himself one position up. I don't think he's going to get away from Luke Lucchese, but if Umpi pushes very hard, he might be able to get onto the back of Keegan Masters. I think Keegan's done enough. I don't think that he's going to be able to get to Keegan.
Well, there's a fight going on there for that 14th position. Leon van Wyk and Sandro Bacardi, they're right in there behind Willem Botha. There they go. Look at this gaggle. A couple of back markers in there as well, just to make it exciting. There's Leon van Wyk going through. Leon van Wyk 0.2 of a second behind Bacardi as they're cutting and carving their way through. Oh, it's going to be, and ahead of them all is Willem Botha. So that's a lovely fight that you see out there, and that's the one there for that 14th position.
Oh, broken wing. Look at that left-hand back corner of that wing is bent up. That must be affecting quite a bit. Matt Shorter had off not that long ago. Let's see if we can have a look at that one. What happened to Matt? Oh, look how dirty the side of that car is. Oh, just trying too hard, coming out into the front main, almost entering the pits, even though he didn't want to. But he gets that one back in line again. The time's busy ticking away. 1 hour 22 of this 1 hour 30 race. A big thank you to Canvas Intelligence, Jaco Stein, Dr. Mike Verrier, and Luke Lucchese, and the Big Six. It's not Big Five anymore, it's the Big Six that have made it possible for us to have the right equipment to bring this to you on 1080p HD on YouTube.
Well, Leon van Wyk is 7/10 of a second behind Sandro Bakari. Is Leon van Wyk with the back markers in that lot as well. So there's Bakari. Van Wyk goes off the circuit. Leon van Wyk trying too hard to make the move there on Sandro Bakari and runs it very wide and loses now a lot of time and a lot of ground there to Bakari.
Oh, that was a pity. Let's have an in-car shot there from Leon van Wyk and see what exactly went wrong for him. We can pick that one up for you.
No, just overdone it, that's all.
Just understeered.
Just went in too hot and then understeered off the circuit.
Could that be a factor of tire wear? We haven't spoken about tire wear at all yet. Can that be starting to play a factor between the guys that have been pushing very hard, like Umpi Swart, like Johan Ferry?
I don't know about tire wear, Gary, but that wing could certainly cause him to have some handling problems on the back of that Porsche. It could be a factor that he went off, but I don't think that much. I think he just went in a little bit too quick and too hot into that right-hander, and then it just drifted away and went off the circuit. As Zach Foster is in that 10th position, 8/10 of a second behind Jan Sparmers, trying as hard as he can, and Jan has opened up the gap slightly there on Zach.
Well, have a look at the positions gained. Byron Mitchell started in P1 and, well, he's still there. 15 seconds behind him and having just dropped down, gone forward one position. So having started on the second row of the grid, the Mobile 1 V8 racer from Extreme Festival is in that second position. Leighton Ferry, ex-Polar Cup champion, is up in sixth position, six positions up, should I say, up into that third. Keegan Masters, that had probably one of his best qualifyings ever, can understand that he's dropped 2 positions down because he was batting slightly out of his league with the very big names up top. The biggest mover up into the top 5 is in fact Umpi Swart, and we know Umpi Swart to be a very hard driver. He just doesn't ever give up. He made his way past Luke Lucchese. He's actually dropped Luke Lucchese by almost 2 seconds, but Keegan Masters has done enough with 5 minutes to go to stay out of the clutches of Umpi Swart. That's if nothing goes wrong for Keegan Masters.
Well, the biggest movers there, Sander Bakari 13 positions, Mike Verrier 12, Corne Breed 13, and Swice has gone up 11 positions. What is going wrong here for Johan Ferry again? Oh no, it's a horror show. It is a nightmare, an absolute, totally disastrous nightmare for Johan Ferry. Almost takes out another 1-2 competitors there, and Johan will be absolutely gutted with his performance because he knows that he can do a lot better than what's happening to him out there. And that was Graham Stephen that lost the circuit a bit, going in so quick that he's on, and then eventually hammers the wall on his right hand side, and the bonnet of that let's call it the bonnet of that Porsche just disappears.
Yeah, and he jumped back to pit, so that cost him Matt Short in very similar colors, using everything that there is and a little bit more, but manages to hold on to that one as we go back to live. And let's honor this man up front. He's done it brilliantly. Byron Mitchell, wow, with 3.5 minutes to go, he just hasn't put a foot wrong yet. It's not over until the fat lady sings.
Yeah, hasn't put it well on the line at this point in time, and he's got 15 seconds gap between himself and Julian. So if I was Byron now, I'll just lift off ever so slightly because the winner's in the bag. But knowing these young guns and these hot shots, I'm not going to lift at all. Zach Foster, though, is still trying his best to get past Jan Spalmers. But that is Julian. That's in second position. And he's 4.9 seconds ahead of Leighton Fourie that you see there in that third place on your screen, who in turn is 9.4 seconds ahead of fourth place man Keegan Masters in the Porsche, and Keegan 6.3 seconds behind the BMW of the man in P5, namely Yuri Swart, who in turn is 3.7 seconds ahead of the man in P6, Luke Lucchese, and Lucas 2 seconds ahead of Jared Boberski, that is there in P7. And then there's a 12.3 second gap between Boberski and King, that is there in that 8th position. Then Jan Spalmers in 9th, and he's only 1.1 seconds ahead there of Zach Foster, and that rounds off your top 10.
Yeah, I think Zach Foster's looking to go a little bit further forward. Zach Foster's not given up on that one. It looks pretty distant if you look at it like that, but in real terms, that's only 1.2 seconds. It feels like light years when you're doing the speeds that they're doing, and that car is so far ahead of you. But the time is ticking away. There's under 2 minutes to go. And, well, I think the biggest winners out of this one after the qualifying session, sure, there's got to be the likes of Leighton Fourie, Umpi Swart, Jan Spammers, Peter Joubert, and Rudy Murray that have made big jumps from where they were in the qualifying. And it's not because of a bad qualifier. It was a pretty decent qualifier by all of them. It's just how the field has played itself out.
There's a fight there for 6th position. Jared Boberski is 0.4 of a second behind Luke Lucchese. That's P6 and P7. There you see them on screen now. And here comes Boberski. Jared Boberski there on Luke Lucchese. It is the young gun versus the master, the Porsche versus the Ferrari. And let's have a look and see. German and Italian engineering at its best, that's for sure. The Porsche and the Ferrari, but it is Boberski that is crowding the back end there of Lucchese.
But then that means that Lucchese's probably got some mechanical issues, because Umpi Swart has taken 3.4 seconds out of Luke Lucchese, which is unlikely. They're both pretty much on similar pace. Jared has closed up so quickly onto the back of Luke. Visually, the car looks okay, but he must have some other issue that's making that car not to 1/10 of a second where he wants it to be. And Jared Boberski, in the closing 20 seconds of this race, is trying to get himself up into that 6th position.
Well, he's going to try and try. Well, that's for sure. If you were a betting man here, who would you go for? I would actually go for Boberski, to be honest with you. But who knows? The time is up. 1.5 hours is done, which means that this should then be the last lap for Byron Mitchell. 16 seconds ahead there of Julian Familiaris in that 2nd position. So we'll have a look and see. There might be another lap to do, but with the time being up and Mitchell not at the end of this lap yet, I would say, Gaza, that this is Mitchell's last lap.
Yep, this is the last time round. He's got a 15-second gap on the mobile man from main circuit, Julian Familiaris, and I think he must tap himself on the back for this one. It was an honor and a pleasure to have him on the Second Year Talk Show last night at 8 o'clock. He was smiling, said he had a great time with his motorsport career to date, and he was really looking forward to tonight as well. And, well, he's proven that he's done the homework, he's got it all right, and he's got some massive big names behind him. And, he's not past the finish line yet, but the time is up. So as he works his way now down Kettle Bottoms and taking the last couple of the corners, I think it's going to be Byron Mitchell that's going to smile sweetly when he climbs into bed tonight.
Yeah, it's nearly checkered flag time for Byron Mitchell as he works his way towards the end of the lap. There is the final corner that he makes his way out of, runs up the hill. Surely, checkered flag time, and it's a 16.3 second victory for Mitchell over Familiaris in 2nd position.
Oh, that was brilliant stuff. You'll be super duper chuffed with that one. Julian Familiaris, the next man that's going to be coming through. There he comes through now. Is it Julian Familiaris? And I think you'll be pretty happy with that one. Julian Familiaris ahead of Leighton Ferree.
Yeah, there comes Ferree across the line. 3.1 seconds behind Familiaris is Leighton Ferree. And that is your podium. Where is Keegan Masters? He's gone down 2 positions. Keegan finishes in 4th. And here comes Yuri Umpiswar. 1.1 seconds behind Masters. He finishes in 5th position. 3.8 seconds ahead of Jared Baburski. And he will finish 6.7 seconds ahead of that man, Luke Lucchese, that finishes there in that 7th position.
Well,
then Gary Luking coming through, and he is 5.1 seconds behind Lucchese.
Yep, then the next one through, Jan Spammers, and I'm sure he'll be smiling here. A brilliant day. Zach Foster rounding out the top 10.
Just out the top 10, 18, nearly 19 seconds behind Foster is Hubert. Only the first 15 cars will end this one on the lead lap. And here comes Peter Hubert, up 9, finishes in that 11th position. Then behind him, up 10 in P12 is Rudy Murray. And then behind him, down 9 and in 13th position is Johan Fourie. Behind him in P14, up 2 is Willem Botha. And then behind him in P15, and the last car on the lead lap, up 13 positions, is Sandro Bakari, that man you see there in that red, white and green Porsche flashing his lights. And they are the only 15 cars on the lead lap, if my facts are right.
Sure. Well, that was something else. I tell you what, everything that you hoped for, wanted for, wished for, and more. And at the end of the day, they were all pretty close to one another. If you think about it, after an hour and a half of racing, how little of a gap there was actually between them, it's actually a very, very close and very good dice that they've had out there. We're just waiting for the results to become available to us, and then we will stick that up on screen for you as soon as they are available. And there we go. Byron Mitchell, what a boykie. Brilliant stuff, winning out and really once again making a name for himself.
Yeah, 16.4 seconds between Familiaris and then Leighton Fourie in 3rd. That is your podium. Byron Mitchell, Julian Familiaris and Leighton Fourie. Then Keegan Masters and Yuri Swart, they round off the top 5.
Well, behind the top 5, Jared Baburski, the man that at one point was leading the championship but missed out on round number 3. Mr. Luke Lucchese outside of the top 5. Luke King, well done, Luke. Jan Spammer, Zach Foster once again in the top 10.
Then Peter Hubert, Rudy Murray, Johan Fourie, Willem Botha and Sander Bakari. And as I said, only those 15 cars on the lead lap. Leon van Wyk, Corne Breed and Mike Verrier, the first drivers to go one lap down.
Well, that wraps up our coverage for you for this evening. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be with you. A big thanks to Canvas Intelligence and everybody else behind the scenes, to the Big Six, to Jaco Steyn, to Dr. Mike Berrier, Sandro that still does his piece in the background, Luke that puts the computers together and helps so many people out there. And there's many others that are doing things to help others in the background. Iedereen elkeen van julle sê ons baie dankie. Dit word opreg waardeer. It's an awesome series and it's a prestigious series if you look at the name list that there is out there. Frankie, the voice of West France Motorsport from Second Gear Productions, a big thank you for joining us. A closing word from your side, your driver of the day.
Well, first of all, fantastic Porsche Cup and a fantastic GTE series. A big thanks to Canvas Intelligence and to ASAP Motorspares. My driver of the day, I'll tell you what, I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm going to leave this one up to you.
I'm going to say Byron doing what he does best. Brilliant drive by Julian. Amazing for Leighton to get as far up as he did. Brilliant for Keegan Masters to find himself in the top 4. Oompie, a massive comeback. Jared Roberski from a long way down, working himself a long way up. Any one of those can pat themselves on the back and say, look at all the big names behind us. One of the most unlucky out there to me was Johan Ferry, but there were numerous others that had bad luck right at the beginning, including the likes of Peter van der Spey as well. So a lot of good lucks, a lot of bad lucks, but such is motorsport.
I will give it to Sander Bakari. The last car on the lead lap, and he was the biggest mover. He went up 13 positions. So my driver of the day is Sander Bakari.
So, with Sander Bakari being named the driver of the day by the voice of West Bromwich Motorsport, Frankie Ennis, from our side, Gary Fleming, thanks very much for joining us. Good night to you one and all, and look forward to bringing you the next round of the Canvas Intelligence MSA series for 2022. Good night, everybody.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.